A night in with MauLer and the drinker, getting trashed with the web screen dictors. A cheap night cause I'm feeling kinda thrifty, got a 10-pack of beers and a bottle of whiskey. Hop up the cork, have a glass of wine, pass fail safe, I'll be fine. Trouble walking in a straight line, but pour me a Pinot Noir. It's open bar with our hosts, MauLer and the critical drinker.
Look at that. I just cut that one off early there because I was so desperate to get started.
You destroyed the entire equilibrium. How could you?
I've killed the vibe, man. I've killed the vibe. That's, I guess, this could be some kind of record, actually, for us. This might be the latest and gayest we've ever been on Open Bar. What was that, like 8 minutes late? It's
all over.
Something else, yeah. Well, you know what? I'm always trying to improve upon what we did last time, so I'm just going to make it later and later. Eventually, we'll start at 10 o'clock instead of 9, you know.
The bar has fallen. That's what people are going to say.
Yeah, drinker is slipping, you know. It's like, is he out of control? Is this it? Is the end of his channel? I don't know. Who knows? But hello, everyone, and welcome here for Open Bar 136. Yeah, we are back once again. And, well, it being Open Bar 136, let's learn a little bit about the year 1936 since it's become tradition on this bar. What do you want to know about first? Do you want to know about movies? Do you want to know about technology? Do you want to know about famous people getting born? You can pick, MauLer. I'll let you.
Famous people, let's go.
All right, so famous people who were born in the year of our Lord 1936. Dennis Hopper, Jim Henson, Robert Redford.
All right.
David Carradine, you know, he was already dreaming about strangling himself to death while masturbating in a cupboard. It's like, died doing what he loved. What can I say? Chris Christopherson was also born in that year, and Albert Finney.
Well.
Yeah.
What a great selection. Robert Redford, most famous for his role in the MCU. That's what everyone knows.
Clearly, yes. You know, he was a bit of an unknown up until that point, but finally,
finally got his breakout role and brought back for Endgame. Everyone was so happy to see him again.
Crushed it, absolutely crushed it. And he looked, you know, the thing is, he didn't seem to have aged a day. It was the remarkable thing about it. I can give you some technology stuff as well. This was actually the year where we got the first ever high definition TV broadcasts. Right? Are you ready for this? They broadcast 200 lines of high definition fantasticness, and it was actually done by the BBC of all places. Started off in Alexandra Place in London. Sorry, London. I was thinking about luncheon there, and I thought, God, I'd like a luncheon right now. But anyway, so the first ever TV broadcast started in 1936, so almost 90 years ago.
Old.
Also in that year, Alan Turing presented his paper on computable numbers, basically his theory of computation at the I love that this is a thing, the London Mathematical Society. Those fucking chads just sitting there doing maths all day long, coming up with crazy numbers. He introduced the concept of the Turing machine. That was in November of that year. So, yeah. And also the first helicopter made its maiden flight, which is kind of neat, 1936. Yeah. And it was a Fucker Wolf, apparently.
I'm sorry, what was that?
A Fucker Wolf, FW61.
Well, what a day.
Fuck those wolves. And then we just got our stream demonetized, probably, but I don't care. Also, this was kind of weird. I looked up the biggest stars of that year, right? 1936 in Hollywood. The top earners of that year. Clark Gable was in the top 10. Robert Taylor and Dick Powell and Joan Crawford, actually. But you know who was top?
Who's that?
Shirley fucking Temple. She was the top earner of 1936.
Well.
She, I think, as a creative, she kind of burned bright but short. Obviously, we few weeks ago we had the first mention of her, and like when she hit it the big time, didn't she star in like 14 different movies in 1 year? It was like it was absurd, like the sort of thing that would never be allowed nowadays. But it's not possible. Yeah, well, child labor laws and all that. I guess they didn't give a shit back then.
Oh well.
And also,
what a career.
Just as a final thing, the top movie of the year was The Great Ziegfeld, which made just over $3 million.
Neat.
And you know what's weird, right? Because we covered this for probably the last, the past 10 years, really since the dawn of cinema as a viable entity, right? The top earners for the year kind of stayed the same in all that time. You would assume that they would grow like year on year because movies became more popular and more people are going to the theater and stuff. They haven't. They stayed round about between 2 and 3 million that whole period, and they're still there. And it'll be interesting to see when it actually starts to really pick up. I don't know. It's kind of surprising, I guess.
Yeah.
But well, anyway, enough of that. That's our entertainment section of this.
Time to drink.
Bar over. Yeah, it's time to drink, and it's time to bring people in so we can rant about stuff. So, without further ado, please welcome to the open bar, Disparu, Mr. H Reviews, and George the Giant Slayer. Welcome, bar.
How you doing?
I really like the idea of the London Math Society. Like, they're a gang going to war with other math societies around the country. Like the Liverpool Mathematic Mafia and stuff.
Just fighting over the correct way to do long division or something.
Yeah, it's like, no, I got the correct way.
Yeah, I like to imagine they all have like crazy wild hair and glasses as well.
Would they be amazing with artillery? They could nail them across the country.
Yeah, one shot, one kill every damn time, man. But yeah, welcome everyone. It's good to have you guys here. And the first thing I was keen to ask you about is we just got the trailer. It was like a 5-hour live stream trail. This was a really strange way of doing it to tease and whet our appetites for Avengers Doomsday. And it was purely based around the cast. It was all about just telling us who was going to be in it, which, well, we'll get into that in a second. But so far as I know, we've got Chris Hemsworth, who's going to be there, Anthony Mackie, Vanessa Kirby, Paul Rudd, Florence Pugh. We've also got, I'm going to have to say the characters' names here. We've got Namor from Black Panther. We've got Shang-Chi. We've got Bucky Barnes. We've got Black Panther. Well, the shitty, not the real Black Panther. Yeah, female Black Panther. We've got The Thing, and we've got Beast, played by Kelsey Grammer again, which is baffling. But yeah, they've got a few of the X-Men, actually. They've got Patrick Stewart reprising his role as Charles Xavier, and Ian McKellen as Magneto.
Yeah, he gets to die, what, the 4th time, Stuart?
But we've all, I want to see him get his neck snapped again. That was just hilarious. We've also got Alan Cumming as Nightcrawler once again. Rebecca Romaine as Mystique, which is gonna, if she's got the balls to do her bodysuit again, respect to that woman because she's like 50 now. James Marsden as Cyclops and Channing Tatum as Gambit again, and a whole bunch of other people I don't give a shit about, like David Harbour as the Red Guardian. But I don't know, like, this whole thing seems to be predicated on you getting excited for seeing actors do the same roles that they've done a whole bunch of other times in other films. Is that enough?
You mean like Deadpool and Wolverine?
Right. They definitely learned this.
I know, yeah.
Yeah, they have Channing Tatum, don't they? Bringing in the...
They do?
Gambit.
Gambit.
Yeah.
Yes.
They saw the reaction with Robert Downey Jr. and they just repeated it an infinite amount of times. Basically. It was actually more funny, the sort of backlash when the immediate reaction was, many women coming back. Like Grace Randolph lost it. Started asking for Wiccan, of all people, to come back in an Avengers movie.
He was in the leaked art, wasn't he? So
yeah, was he?
Yeah, he was in one of the images on that.
Then they
never expected him to be seen again.
It's like they have half the cast of Ghost, MauLer. It's like half the cast of Thunderbolts. They got Ghost in here. It's like a character almost nobody knows.
Yeah.
Dude, I saw someone saying, like, there was no Taskmaster credit. Oh, no. It's like, you don't care. Nobody gives a fuck. Why would
she is in it, though, apparently, isn't she?
She is.
In Thunderbolts, yes, but in Avengers, probably not.
No, I think she is.
I heard
trying to work my way through all of them.
D'Onofrio's supposed to be in it. So Daredevil.
But so Olga Kurylenko, is that the name that pops up?
Yeah, I think Olga Kurylenko is in it.
You sure? I didn't see that one.
And this time, again, she'll be played by a guy in a suit until they unmask her.
Yeah. Ass blaster. Yeah. But yeah, this just seems like, you know how we talked about before, things like Star Wars, they used to reference classic Westerns. They used to reference, like, Seven Samurai and like adventure serials and all that stuff. Right now, Star Wars just references itself. It tries to get you excited by having characters that you've already seen come back, and it kind of feels like that's the end point of any franchise, where it's like that's all it can do is cannibalize itself. Is that what we're seeing with Marvel now?
We're well into the deep fried era of Marvel. This is all just sad and pathetic. But I don't know, try and enjoy while it lasts, I guess.
I think it's going to change, though. If you think about it, it depends how Fantastic Four is going to do. I mean, especially after Captain America or Captain Checkbox. Do you really think that Fantastic Four is going to have the legs to bring Marvel back?
I don't think Fantastic Four will do very well at all. The Fantastic Four as a property historically has never done very well, so I don't think that's going to do particularly well in the movie theaters. But I think actually that there's a bigger statement there really about Marvel with what they've done with the casting. Is that if you're looking at it, it's what's the lessons that Marvel have taken recently. They've gone, right, well, what was our most successful film recently? Deadpool and Wolverine. Let's do that again. So
but with more,
you've got all the Fox X-Men back. Well, you have, haven't you? You got all the Fox X-Men back again. So
that's for Wolverine.
It renders that goodbye of that movie completely moot now, right? And they're going to hang all of this, all of their hopes and dreams of Doomsday going well on nostalgia. It's just all bloody nostalgia again. They're all just coming back again to go away again. It's who cares about these? I don't know. It's just repeating the same stuff. It's rinse and repeat. They learned no lessons from these recent box office failures. They've just gone, we'll just copy what Deadpool and Wolverine did. We'll just do that again, but different. So
I'm famously not a fan of Deadpool and Wolverine. However, you are completely right. That end credit sequence now makes no fucking sense, because why would you put that before the reintroduction of all the characters? It should be at the end. It's like, well, that makes sense now. Good stuff.
Yeah.
It depends what lesson they take, because if it is that they're just repeating what Deadpool, then they've learned nothing. But you could also take it as they've realized the characters that they replace them with are awful, and they're trying to get back to the originals, so that then if they actually recast them all in some way, or they won't make the same mistakes that they did in Phase 5 or wherever we ended up. It is a case of, because that was the whole gender swapping, race swapping area. As long as you get back to the originals in some way, shape, or form, you could use this as a stepping stone to get back there and reboot it from the start with characters people actually like.
But how are you going to do that, Disparu, when they want to reboot it by bringing in all the characters nobody likes? Namor, knock off Black Panther.
Yeah, well, yeah, but you're going to... They're going to try and find the middle ground where you'll accept it, but they also get the characters they want in.
Gotcha. So this is all under the assumption they treat the Fox characters well, which they don't treat their own characters well. So I don't think we should be expecting that.
And I heard a while back that they said that you're going to have the Calverine in it, or you're going to have multiple Wolverines. Anybody?
I wouldn't be surprised if they do all of those as micro cameos, just to like have them in there. Again,
I think we should expect Deadpool and Wolverine are on their way. That this is not the full cast. There's so many people missing that shouldn't be missing. The chief among them will be,
isn't there?
Chris Pratt's not there, right? And it's like he's absolutely going to be in it. So there's clearly more casting announcements to come.
But it was odd, MauLer. It was odd. You have Hemsworth, but not Pratt. I mean, but
well, it could just be a matter of it could just be signing. It could just be locking people in on stuff. You can't risk announcing shit when it wouldn't be true yet. So because I thought it was weird to see Hemsworth.
Yeah,
he's not said anything publicly, right?
I got the impression he didn't want to do Thor anymore. Like he was kind of disgusted after Love and Thunder, and he was like, I don't want to do this stupid shit anymore. I guess with the right paycheck, they got Robert Downey Jr. back, so yeah, why not Hemsworth as well?
I think there was an interview where in the final credits it said, "And Thor will return," and he turned to someone and went, "I didn't know that." Without asking him.
And I didn't see Brie Larson. I was like, where is she?
I don't think you're going to be seeing much of Brie Larson anymore in anything.
She's going to join Rachel Zegler.
Yeah, pretty much. But yeah, I don't know, man. Like it used to be like you could get people excited for a movie, especially a Marvel movie, with the prospect of what was going to happen, like the plot, the events, how it was going to move the universe forward. Now it's just like, Yeah, look at all the people that you remember from other better movies and better franchises. Like, aren't you excited to see them come back and get humiliated for a quick paycheck?
I can't believe they're announcing like the return of Professor X. It's like, you guys did that already, and you broke his neck.
I still
they don't have any narrative. They don't have any story for you to look forward to now, because this was supposed to be the Kang Dynasty, remember? And then it got completely switcherooed for Doomsday. I'm not saying Kang Dynasty would have been good, but all of their plans went, well, lack of plans. They didn't really have many plans anyway, but their loose plans went up in smoke.
Yeah.
And then they gave us a 5.5 hour live stream reveal. They must have pure contempt for the actual fans of their property now.
Well, yeah, but you know what's insane? Like that, they had 96,000 people watching them live when I happened to spot it.
Mental.
And I thought, like, I looked at it and I was like, oh, okay, like there must be something crazy going on right now. And it was just like a shot of a chair with Chris Hemsworth written on it. Like, that's it. That's what you like. Almost 100,000 people are watching right now. But that's the terrifying thing. Like, there's still a lot of retards out there. Well, who will just tune in for anything Marvel related? It doesn't matter how stupid it is.
But why didn't they do a San Diego Comic-Con panel? Like, where's the hype now? There's no. They used to, I remember, you know, we rag on Marvel, but there used to be such hype, and they used to make some decent films. And so when they did come out, people were like, yeah, okay, I'm excited for this. You know, this was good. They'd come out with an actor on stage. They'd tell everyone what was happening. Here's what we're going to be doing the next few years. Here's our new plans. Here's what we're crafting. Here's the actor. They're going to say a few words. Now it's a 5.5 hour live stream of a chair.
But Mr. H, think about it. You know, some bean counter over a corporate was sitting there going, we had 97,000 people watching nothing.
Oh, yeah, true.
Man, this is going to be great. Look at this, 97,000 people. We got it made.
Maybe they were like legit banking on the super chats or something that was going to like finance this thing.
Most profitable thing they've done.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, it's going to be, we're going to live stream Robert Downey Jr.'s mask for 10 hours.
Yeah. That's it. And yeah, like I guess when the announcement was first made as well that he was going to be coming back as Doctor Doom, like there was that combination of some people just being like, hey, Robert Downey Jr. is coming back, and everyone else just rolling their eyes like, oh, fuck. Yeah, they've reached desperation point now. Break glass in case of emergency. Defrost Robert Downey Jr. and bring him back with a massive paycheck.
Well, it's like with the casting. You mentioned the studio, but we're in a weird position where you're simultaneously going, well, look at all these people they missed out, and there's also already too many people. So, at best, it's going to be flashed forwards, you're going to see them for a few seconds, they're not really going to contribute to anything, they're just going to have their face on the screen and go. Because there just isn't enough time to have this many people in a movie. And so, you can't get really hyped up about the story, as they're just going to be window dressing.
Yeah. And aren't they building up for like a soft reboot of the MCU anyway? Like, so you've got Doomsday, and then that's going to feed into Secret Wars, and that's it, right? Like that's going to be that's going to be the big multiverse crossover blowout event that's going to like bring all this to an end and essentially allow them to just soft reboot the whole MCU, which, to be fair, they kind of need to do at this point because it's so convoluted. It's like every time you tune into a new thing on Disney Plus, it's like it actually gives you the recommended shows you need to watch just to do your homework and understand what the fuck's even happening.
Yeah, but when they do that, does that means they're going to bring in the old Avengers as the new Avengers? They're going to bring the young Avengers nobody wants as the new Avengers. That's the problem. You go back to character and story. You can reboot it all you want. Are you going to go back to telling a good story with characters people care about?
No, they are never going to do that. Certainly not with this thing. How long have they even got for production of this fucking disaster? Isn't it like even lower than Fantastic Four, which was lower than Superman, which was already low to begin with, like in terms of a cycle? And then, of course, it's like, have we reached 100 cast members yet in terms of significant recognizable heroes? What the fuck is this mess going to be?
They're trying to make it feel like Infinity War Endgame. That's what I was getting from the 6 hour. Yeah. Look at this. This is an event film.
The thing is, though, people didn't tune into Endgame just because so many of their characters were in it. They were tuning in because it was the culmination of something that had been built up over the past 10 years. it was a story that drew people in. We wanted to see how all this was going to end, and really, the only ones we gave a fuck about were like Iron Man, Thor, and Captain America. Like when they took on Thanos at the end, those were the ones that were actually important. And that's something you can't replicate. That 10 years of build up and like relatively successful theatrical and critically accepted movies, we're not getting that anymore. And so it's trying to like astroturf enthusiasm for a movie out of nothing, essentially.
Great catch. Yeah, it is. Especially they're bringing in Falcon, the new Falcon. I was like, who? Oh, that guy. It's like
anyone that's had a role in anything.
Damn. I know. Except for the people that everybody wants to see.
Yeah. But the fucking probably like Daredevil will be in there somewhere. Fucking like that's how like kitchen sink this is going to be. Just throw everything you've got at it.
I mean, I can't remember.
Alan Cummings'
Daredevil,
Nightcrawler is very like, what? Okay, I guess.
I think I've just got this horrible feeling as well. Like when we see all these like X-Men stars who essentially were like in business like 20 years ago, they're just going to look so fucking old now. Not even like, you know, old in an interesting way where it's just like, oh, okay, we get to see a more mature version of this character. More just like, no, you should be in like you should be getting daycare or something like to get you through each day.
Oh,
They'll forgive you for not remembering, but we have seen Kelsey Grammer's Beast in the last 2 years or whatever. In the Marvels, he was in the post-credit scenes of that, full CG. That's what they'll be doing with him. So maybe they're doing that with all of them. It's just their faces.
Maybe. Yeah.
Yeah, otherwise Patrick Stewart
does need a wheelchair to get around.
Yeah.
Dude, Ian McKellen, like, man, he's just going to be in a big green room and they'll say, lift up your arms and we'll do everything else.
And he'll shed another quiet tear. Like, this is not why I got into acting.
You cannot pass. Oh, sorry, wrong movie.
Yeah. I mean, in a way, it's like, okay, I can understand you really want to make use of these people while they're still with us. But man, not like this. Just don't do that to them, please.
Yeah. I did have a moment of hope when I saw Ian McKellen. A moment.
Really?
A moment.
You were like Gandalf.
Yes, that's exactly. I was like, yes, it's gonna be
Ian
in
McKellen
there.
Ian McKellen was in the Hobbit trilogy, man. So
I know.
Not
again, I had a moment, and my brain was like, "You remember this?" Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Because you know, he said a little while ago, I think it was on the BBC here, BBC Morning, they had asked him if he was going to do all the new films. He's like, "Well, I'm going to do as many as I can," because he had just, I think, shattered his hip or broke his hip or bruised it.
Yeah, fell off stage. Yeah.
Yeah, and so he's like, "I'm going to do as many as I can, One more time."
I'd see Fassbender back, to be honest. He was quite good.
Yep.
It was, yeah. Fassbender is like one of those frustrating actors where he's pretty much always great. Like, at least he gives it 100% in everything he's in, but he's in a lot of shit.
Truly.
I mean, like,
his assassin pick, I love
movies,
it.
like,
oh, but The Killer, ooh, I like.
The Killer was great.
Yeah, it was awesome film, great film. Maybe they're gonna have him. I mean, could you imagine the cast if they literally do bring everyone in from doing the multiverse thing? You'll have Fassbender and McKellen.
It's just
First Class.
And what the fuck is this story gonna be? Is it just You know, Infinity War was impressive with how it juggled the cast that had already been built from all the previous movies. This is like this is like three times the size.
This is going to be Deadpool and Wolverine on steroids. Right. It's all it is. It's going to be a bunch of people who show up to have like one scene, just like, hey, I'm going to do something cool, and then like, either get killed or just vanish again, and then move on to the next thing.
The thing is, Deadpool and Wolverine was marketed off Deadpool and Wolverine, and the people that all the cameos and stuff were kind of an extra, but people went for Deadpool and Wolverine. This is the other way around. It's being marketed on everybody else except the main character. So there's no real person to hinge it on, as Robert Downey Jr. can't be the main character if he's the villain, can he?
He could.
Well, that could be something that there's no fucking room, first of all. But imagine they did have like the downfall of him, how he became Doctor Doom. He was a good man at first, but his power hungry, blah blah blah. You know, all this bullshit. We're like, we haven't got the time, man. We got like 1,000 characters.
Also, that's a great idea, MauLer. They don't have that anymore. Come on, they're like, let's show it. No. They just want to do the nostalgia bait. I mean, that's what it looks like to me. It's just copy and paste. Who do we have? Who can we get? How quick can we get them?
I think this is the saddest expected thing, as in like a grab bag of just who the fuck can we get? Just grab them, whoever it is.
Yeah.
You know, like
whoever actor's just like willing to take a paycheck. Yeah.
Well, do you notice that Halle Berry's Storm is not coming back? I guess at least they haven't named it. And I was like, oh, really? Because you could have the stuff Gary has suggested before, which is stuff I find fun, goofy, which would be like have Halle Berry Storm and Halle Berry Catwoman references, and then just can't actually have Catwoman. But same thing for Ben Affleck Daredevil, like. Throw that in with Charlie Cox did. I mean, it's like if we go in this goofy, may as well just have some fun.
Yeah, because like, how fucking cool would it be to see like Charlie Cox come face to face with Ben Affleck's Daredevil? Like,
why not?
Colin Farrell's Bullseye.
Ghost Rider should be in here. Why the fuck isn't he?
The irony is, like, they wouldn't recognize each other because they can't see each other. But
you're already making the scene. It's already great.
Yeah.
Nobody
fucking writes itself, doesn't it?
Nobody in the audience, the fucking producers, all the actors think a story is going to happen here. So if it's just going to be jokes and memes, fuck it, why not? Because I still think the best actual execution of all this insanity was No Way Home, because they didn't ruin Tobey Maguire's Spider-Man or Andrew Garfield's Spider-Man.
Yeah, that was really good.
What did that film do? It's like, well, it gave them time, it gave them chemistry. So it's like, is that something they could do? It's like, no.
It kept it contained to those three characters, and like they're all obviously variations of the same character, and so like there's a lot of to build off of with that. This is just the shotgun approach. It's scattershot. There's just stuff going to be everywhere.
They decided to go with like Toby is the the good ending Spider-Man, Andrew's the bad ending Spider-Man. Which way will Tom Holland's one go? And Andrew Garfield sort of has this bit of redemption in the story that makes him feel better about his history, and Tom is stopped by Toby before he makes a mistake with Green Goblin. It's like, oh, look at that storytelling meaning. There you go. I'm not saying it's like fucking Citizen Kane, but we're on the way to something there. And meanwhile, like, I just can't imagine they're doing two films back to back, probably 6 hours in total runtime, and it's just gonna be garbage circus of nonsense, tangled mess. I just can't even imagine what the fuck the writer's trying to do.
Yeah. May I read out a couple of super chats here, because there's a couple of biggies that have come through. This might be the biggest one we've ever had, actually. $480 from Mensch. 1086. Thank you very much for your generosity, sir. He said, since Disparu is here, I want to say that he is 100% at Barbara Broccoli being the problem with Bond. Her father cast Brosnan, but Brosnan was stuck doing Remington Steele, and so Dalton stepped in. Barbara's father was alive, but not active in GoldenEye, and that movie began the postmodernist deconstruction of Bond.
Yeah, I always see Bond as going downhill after GoldenEye. Like, every movie got worse. I know a lot of people like Casino Royale.
I'll agree with after GoldenEye.
Like, that's what I mean. GoldenEye was like a high point, and afterwards it was just downhill.
Yeah.
You didn't like World Is Not Enough?
I enjoyed it, but it's a goofball film.
I know it is.
What's the one directly after GoldenEye? I can never remember it.
Tomorrow Never Dies.
Tomorrow Never Dies. Yeah, I quite enjoyed that one. That's fun in a sort of goofy way.
I like it, but right after GoldenEye, it is a bit of a like, okay, that wasn't.
Yeah. The funny thing about Brosnan, right? Because Remington Steele was due to get cancelled, and he signed on for Bond, or at least he was in discussions to play Bond. They wanted him; he was really keen to do it. And apparently, the rumor of him being cast as Bond raised the profile of Remington Steele, so the ratings went way up, and it got renewed.
That's
He was fucking forced to do another couple of seasons of that show.
Wow!
God damn it!
What I didn't realize till the other day, I was going over some Bond news. I didn't realize that Cavill had auditioned for Bond against opposite Craig, but they said it was too late.
Online.
Yeah,
because we did it on Open Bar. Actually, we played the audition tape. So there was like him, Rupert Friend. What was the other guy? The guy that's in the Avatar movies.
Worthington.
Sam Worthington of all people.
Wow.
And the Anthony Starr as well. Like, so we got all four of their audition tapes, and much as I love Cavill for the role of Bond now, he was far too young to have done it back then. You're talking like he was in his early
22.
Yeah, way too young. So he needed like another 10 years to mature.
I still think Bond was raised from an orphan to be a spy, so I don't think there's anything inherently wrong with a younger Bond.
I assume.
I mean, you could do it, but then
he has experience to play a character like that as well, right? Because like that was still pretty early You know,
Yes,
it would be interesting to see him try. I wouldn't.
Yeah, because his best Bond audition was A Man from U.N.C.L.E. That's where he
Oh
Yeah.
God, yes. This, yeah, you
that was
nailed
when
it.
he was
I
like
love that.
optimal age, like he
Hell
had the
yeah.
right look and everything. And I think, yeah, as you say, you could do a show that's about like a younger version of Bond and stuff. I just don't want to see it, to be honest. I want to see Bond as a mature guy who knows himself and like he's got the confidence and the swagger by that point. And that's the sort of thing that kind of only comes with age. Like you don't get that until you're like well into your 30s. And that's what I want Bond to be.
I'm obviously asking way
Amazon.
too much, but I'd be cool with an excellent actor playing through the ages, like a Bond that goes from being younger to a bit more seasoned and stuff.
No, don't give my dears. I don't want a young James Bond TV series.
Not
Prime.
like super like teenager or some shit.
This is the thing, right? Because you could have done
around high school.
It's like
No.
Indiana Jones now.
The closest we got to this, right? Because they've touched on this a few times throughout the different actors' tenures as Bond, right? And like I think Sean Connery did it with Never Say Never Again, where it's like he came back and he was clearly like way fucking older, and they do play on that a little bit. Roger Moore absolutely should have played into it towards the end because he was a fucking dinosaur by that point. And they did it with Daniel Craig after like his second movie, which was a huge mistake. It's like he's only halfway through his tenure and you're already acting like he's over the hill. But it is a thing you can do. But the problem is then you're starting to date the character and you're starting to say like, well, he's just a man who's aging. And then how does the next actor take up that role? It becomes like this difficult quandary that you can't really resolve, you know. And Bond's always gotten
unless you have two series, right? Like you have a series of movies as he's just an adult, but then you also have his younger years. Because there are, as people in the chat are saying, that there are, you know, James Bond kid books, right? Where he is a kid. So unless you have a TV series or series of movies as James Bond as a child, a kid, and you can swap out the actor for the kid James Bond, just like you would the adult James Bond, and they just run concurrently with one another, and they don't age through each series. That's what you would do, I think.
I mean, they did stuff like this with Indiana Jones, where you had like the young Indiana Jones Chronicles or whatever it was, and that was fun. That was fine.
I quite like them. Thought they were right.
Aren't they bringing them back now?
I don't know.
I thought it was coming back in a couple of years, that they were working on a series, limited series.
They were threatening it. I don't know if it was confirmed.
Could you imagine, though, Amazon actually doing it? The thing is I'm worried about, I mean, someone had just shared a super chat that I saw, and I just checked it, that Jennifer Salke, so on one hand is good news. She stepped down from MGM Amazon. So she's not going to be running it. Thank God, that's good. Except for the fact that they want to do all these spin-offs. I mean, do you really want to see a Money Penny show, a Q show?
Yes. No, hey, if Amazon going to burn it, just do everything. I want to see an Objob spin-off. Just have him going around as an
How did Objob get his hat?
Random cat.
Well, there was this article that I think George you'd shared with us before we started this stream, and it's talking about the Amazon's new James Bond movie is going to be produced by Amy Pascal and David Heyman. For anyone who's a little bit hazy on Amy Pascal, she's the creative genius behind the Ghostbusters 2016 movie. And somehow she keeps getting work in Hollywood. It's
failing.
Not only
Not
that, she presided over Sony. She was the Sony, movie pictures president when they had that email leak, and she was floating around the idea of an Aunt May spin-off movie for Spider-Man. So that's the creative level we're working with Amy Pascal.
Yeah.
It's always this like tree branch effect now, isn't it? Like every new property that comes along, the first thing that seems to come to mind, or the first priority for any studio, seems to be, well, how can we branch off into like multiple different spin-offs for this? How can we get TV shows, different movies? How can we have like subsidiary characters that can get their own storylines? It's all just, everyone is still like, to this day, as played out as it is, trying to create their own little MCU.
Yeah.
Of whatever the property might be.
That's not necessarily new, because like Stargate did it, Star Trek did it. They always had spin-offs, but they'd create entirely new shows in new settings, which essentially new worlds with new characters. Whereas this is, how can we take an already existing character and just hope that brings an audience with it? And so it takes away any kind of requirement to bring in a new audience with you and prove yourself. And instead, they just assume people will move over because they know the name.
Yeah. I think as well, like, it was with things like Star Trek and even Stargate SG-1, like, it was spun out over a longer period and they took their time with it. And it was a big deal when they introduced a second show or whatever. Now it's almost like baked in right off the bat. It's like you're already building in hooks with the very first movie or the very first TV show or whatever to start all these other spin-offs, like, because you've got to get it going. And that becomes the priority then, rather than telling a good self-contained story in its own right. And you can see it. You can see how hard they're trying. That's the one thing that Barbara Broccoli did that was good for Bond, that protected it from this kind of franchise fatigue that was going to set in. Obviously, that's gone now.
Didn't seem to like the TV series as a whole. She always referred to Bond as a movie franchise in itself, which is why the whole Road to a Million was bizarre. I don't know if anyone saw that. It was like just answering questions and running up a hill, and they called it Bond. It was the strangest series ever. But that's been renewed. They're coming back with another one.
Was that the one that was presented by Brian Cox?
Yeah, because he thought he was going to be in a Bond movie, and then they just made him talk over it. He was the best part of it. He was easily the best part.
Often is.
Yeah. There was another one here came in from David Gannon. Says, and this is for $50. Says, great to see the whole panel. Hail to gents. Drinker and MauLer loved your Firefly watch videos. Fun fact, every time Wash did anything with the controls, he would hit the same 3 toggle switches above his head no matter what he was doing.
Good.
MauLer, you've probably picked up on that already.
Well, you got to make sure the ship's working fully. There was a real spaceship, actually, and they filmed in space, so it's kind of
For
cool.
sure. Can you believe they went to that extreme for the realism?
You might think it's boring that he hits those buttons or something, but he's got to keep that ship afloat.
I do think there's a certain artistry to these, like, moments where you're at the controls and you got to pretend like you're doing something really, like, important or whatever. And it's like you're just hitting a bunch of non-functional buttons. And most of the time they don't even move or anything.
I have a pet peeve. So I've been watching a bit of Ozark, and whenever Jason Bateman gets on a laptop to do like top tier accounting, if you keep an eye on his fingers, he'll like press G and T over and over and over and over and over and over and over. This is like
bro wants a gin and tonic. What can I say?
Like not even pretend like you're typing a word.
But yeah, for people that have been watching our Firefly watch throughs, we finished now. We've got to the last episode today. That was when we released it, and well, all that's left is Serenity.
Yes. This Sunday at, I don't know, 8 or 9 o'clock, we are going to be watching Serenity, and we're not just doing this as a recording and releasing it. We're going to watch it live, so you guys can watch it with us. And it's not just me and MauLer this time. We have got Az, and we have got Gary. Have we got Fringy as well? Yes.
Did he say so. We have got Fringy. So a whole bunch of us are going to watch that. And that's, I don't know, I think that's a nice way to cap it off and say goodbye to Firefly. So
I love Firefly.
It's been a lovely journey. And this is kind of why MauLer and I started doing this stuff, doing these watch throughs, because I've introduced him to Star Trek. He's introduced me to Firefly, and we both had a pretty good time along the way.
Fuck yeah, dude.
When are you going to do Stargate?
Whew. I mean, so to put that into context, right? Firefly was one season of 14 episodes.
14 episodes, I know. You got...
Stargate had about 500 episodes.
Yeah,
yeah.
I love
and then it had all the
Stargate.
spin-offs, Atlantis, then it had Universe.
Yeah. It's funny people seem to have rediscovered Stargate Universe mostly because of that really hot woman with the gigantic tits. It was in it.
Yeah, running down the corridor.
Yeah. It's like
the first 3 episodes of Universe is one of the most boring television I've ever seen, but then it improves and it starts getting really good, and then it cancels.
Yeah. Okay. I think they went for a darker tone with it, which doesn't quite fit with the Stargate universe.
It felt like they dropped whatever they were attempting at the start, and then they start to introduce aliens coming for them and stuff, and they have things to actually do. I think that's at first it almost felt like they were trying to go for Battlestar Galactica and missed.
Yeah.
And it was just didn't feel right.
No, I agree. Oh well, but that was that. But hey, you guys, how about we check in on Snow White and see how it's doing? It's been out for like a week now. So according to Box Office Mojo, it's currently sitting at 94 million worldwide. We're getting closer, boys. We're going to cross that 100 million soon, possibly by the weekend.
And it's number one in the world, you know, that she said the other day.
Oh, yeah. Well, I've got a great little video from Rachel Zegler here. I think perhaps reality might have started to hit home with her because, wow, this is a bit of a meltdown. Should we watch it together?
Hell yeah.
Should we get her take?
Everyone who hates when I win. The winged victory came to the Louvre in pieces.
Look at her knowing about art. That's great. Well done, Rachel.
This is an old video. This came around before. It's not about this Snow White.
Is funny to watch.
Wasn't it about West Side Story or something, or Shazam?
I think I think to be fair, it might have been.
But it still hurts. The same thing. It's the same message. There's a clip that I saw a couple of hours ago, no, 3 hours ago, where somebody introduced her in a theater. Like, you know, we're gonna be watching Snow White, and guess what? Snow White is here, and you see her like bouncing down the stairs, and half the theater's empty. I'm like, really? You're excited about this? I mean, she was alone, pretty much.
She's given an interview before where she says whenever she sees her name up on a screen somewhere, she cries her eyes out.
She did that. She shared that. I'm sure you saw that video where she's like, you hear someone giggling or screeching next to her, and you see Rachel Zegler. She's like, look.
I think it's right at the end of this video. Let me see if I can just. Oh, hold on.
That's it.
Yeah. And I'm pretty sure she's in an empty movie theater when she does that as well, which is neat.
There's an interview she did with Jimmy Kimmel where she's on about going on the Snow White ride, and she waits to take photographs and stuff. And he's like, how often do you go on a ride for yourself? And she just looks at him and goes, I'm a narcissist.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. She's out there. It's time to dust off the McDonald's uniform and say, would you like a combo?
Yeah. There was another one. Let's see if I can bring it up here, actually. Yeah. It was
just a wealth of...
It's just... Yeah. Horrible. Well, they were talking to... I think this came out just yesterday, right? So it was the son of the producer for Snow White was asked about, like, did your father really travel halfway across the country to berate a young actress? And I've got it here. So it says, from a concerned fan, I guess, your dad flew to New York to reprimand a young actress. Any words on this? Because that's creepy as hell and uncalled for. I mean, I know, imagine holding people responsible for their own decisions. People have a right to free speech. No, shame on your father. And Jonah Platt just responds, says, you really want to do this? Yeah, my dad, the producer of enormous piece of Disney IP with hundreds of millions of dollars on the line, had to leave his family to fly across the country to reprimand his 20-year-old employee for dragging her personal politics into the middle of promoting the movie for which she signed a multi-million-dollar contract to get paid and do publicity for. This is called adult responsibility and accountability. It's fucking great. I love what he's saying here. And her actions clearly hurt the film's box office. Free speech does not mean you're allowed to say whatever you want in your private employment without repercussions. Tens of thousands of people worked on that film, and she hijacked the conversation for her own immature desires at the risk of all the colleagues and crew and blue-collar workers who depend on that movie to be successful. Narcissism is not something to be coddled or encouraged. I mean, give that man a standing ovation. That is just perfect.
I agree with all of that. I think it's difficult to disagree, but there's another element to all of this, I think, is that because this came out like a day after the Variety piece, which is what that chap is referencing, the fan who commented to Jonah Platt is referencing this Variety piece, which absolutely unequivocally would have come from Disney. Disney is throwing Rachel Zegler under the bus for this movie failing, but it's failed in spite of Rachel Zegler. You know, it's a bad movie in spite of Rachel Zegler because of the writing. You know, it's a terribly written movie. It's awful. And that's all on Disney. Now, Rachel Zegler doesn't help it, and she's absolutely to blame as well. Like, of course she is. But Disney created a movie which facilitates a narcissistic douche canoe right? Like Rachel Zegler's a narcissistic douche canoe, and they wrote a film which completely nurtured her and facilitated her behavior as well. So, but they're just trying to throw her under the bus, which, I mean, yeah, sure, she deserves to get under it and, you know, a few bumps down that road for sure. But so did Disney.
I think
she was a mirror.
I think the really weak opening weekend is probably due to a lot, in large part at least, to the controversy that she created. I think there's no denying, obviously, it's a terrible movie, and that's understandable. I think it would have had a much bigger opening weekend, at least, if all of this controversy hadn't erupted around her. It would have fallen off really sharply with weekend 2 once word of mouth spread and, you know, people realized it's absolute garbage. But she did hinder this movie a great deal with all the stupid shit that she said. So I can understand.
Some of the stuff she said was what the film was. She wasn't actually lying. You know, she was like, "Well, she's not going to be saved. You know, she's not going to be saved by true. You know, by the prince. It's a modern retelling." She was literally saying, "I hate to defend Rachel Zegler, right? You know, you could park a double-decker bus between her eyes. I think she's a scumbag, an awful person, and doesn't even have the looks. But she was literally saying what the movie was, and that's on Disney. She doesn't help it. Again,
she's a mascot.
She doesn't help it, but she was quite literally saying what the movie was.
I think she was giving the average person would have thought this movie sucks. I think, especially if they have any awareness, like going into like watch the original in live action, seeing what the fuck they did to it. My mum is my primary example for this, by the way. She thought it was crap, but I don't think my mum nor that many people in the average audience would have been aware of what Zegler's been saying. Really. Like,
I don't know about that. I've heard on how many times do you see a movie like this discussed in the nightly news? I mean, it's not just YouTube. This has been on the news. The first time Drinker brought me on here, we talked about Zegler. This was 3 years ago. You've had 3 years, and then remember we had the election. She shit on half the country. Yeah. So you take that, and you're talking about people are not going to forget. Then it makes the news every night. This film is coming out, half the people defending it, the other half the people not defending it, half the people who want access to Disney, treating.
I think something like Brie Larson with Captain Marvel, that was probably confined to just the internet and social media. It's like general audiences didn't know about it, didn't care. That's why the movie did really well. Cynthia Erivo teetered right on the brink of being the next Rachel Zegler, but pulled it back. And so Wicked was fine. Okay, it was unaffected. People weren't too aware of it. But with the Rachel Zegler thing, as George said, that was getting reported by like major news outlets, and it had years to permeate into the culture and raise awareness of what this movie was and like the controversy around it. And I think that sort of thing that crossed over into mainstream awareness.
If it come out
quicker, don't forget the absolute lack of momentum the live action remakes have right now, and how generally Disney people, the trust for Disney is like fucking born.
But that is a very recent thing. Like Mufasa was probably the first concrete example of that, where it's like, oh god, that really underperformed and do well. But like generally, these live action remakes have been super successful.
Yeah, they're $1 billion hit, almost guaranteed.
Yeah, how did Cruella do?
Oh, that's a good question.
Didn't Cinderella do better? The Branagh one.
Well, so that was when it started, which, or rather, that era started. Yeah, Cruella 233 from an 100 million budget, which is obviously way underballed. So that more than, even though they've talked about a sequel for Cruella, we haven't seen much of anything happening.
Cruella is not a remake, though, is it? That's a
spin-off.
It's a spin-off.
No. I don't know if you guys remember. Unfortunately, I do. The film ends with setting up 101 Dalmatians.
So that's right. That's right.
So it's not the Cruella 2 it's remaking the story, and Cruella 2 is going to cover the Dalmatian stuff.
Sure, but like what I'm saying is like it's not a remake of 101 Dalmatians.
Yeah, but like it's banking on all of that. It's
I mean, okay, fair enough. But like then was 101 Dalmatians like is that on par with something like Snow White or Cinderella or Lion King in terms of like cultural impact? Probably not. So it's like a smaller thing.
Well, I mean, there's a lot of them, right? Like Little Mermaid would obviously be an interesting.
It suffered though, but it suffered the same way, MauLer. Look at this. It's like my 80-year-old man who hasn't probably been to a movie in 15 years was calling me. He's like, "Have you heard about this crap about Snow White and this girl Rachel something?" I mean, it's permeated. Everybody knows about it. You can't avoid it. Then you add in, I think what Mr. H was saying is spot on. She represented Disney in a way that Disney wanted. I mean, they pushed her out there. I'm certain of it. The way that she spoke, she's like a mascot in the mirror for them.
And
They
as-
took
as
her
it
life
stands-
and trashed it.
As
They
it
should never
stands
have
now,
hired her. She's a Latina. She shouldn't have been hired anyway.
Of course not.
Right?
Yeah,
They should have hired a white person.
But you saw what it did. They had to rewrite the backstory so they could say, well, how did Snow White have skin as white? No, she didn't have skin as white. No, it's a snowstorm. Well, we might as well say that Cinderella is called Ash Brown because she slept by a fireplace. It's like,
So dumb.
I'd love if all kids were named after like the weather conditions when they're born. Like every kid in Scotland would be like depressing drizzle.
yeah, it's horrible.
but as it stands now, most of what she said was still correct about the movie, but it would have all been true there. And a lot of what she said didn't even make sense. It doesn't seem like it was her saying it. Things like followed by a prince that literally stalks her. If you've seen the movie, that there is no reading of that movie that says that. And so it did seem like she was getting past, because I think there's also interviews where she said she hadn't seen the movie since she was a kid, so she wouldn't have known
She was
what
scared of it.
It would have all been second-hand knowledge that's been passed down, which presumably would have come from Disney themselves and their intentions. Because
I don't know,
the
like
reshot, toned down version of the movie. It would have been way more in that direction.
I don't think Disney would have wanted her to go out and straight up trash the original movie. Like even they are not retarded enough to say that. I think they would have said, let's just honor the original, but also make it clear, like, this is a modern retelling, and we're gonna, we're gonna put a spin on it. I think she 100% rolled with it and put her own mark on it, which was all right.
I think this is more likely honest conversations that were had behind the scenes that she didn't know she was meant to keep to herself. That she didn't know she was not meant to say all this. So it was their held opinion on why they wanted to remake the movie, but they were also a bit more PR savvy that there are some things you should keep private.
Did you see the dwarves who were boycotting it? I shared that one video with you.
Yeah, do you want to play it? Like,
yeah, it was interesting. If you want,
all right, play it.
This one's
for
it.
It's like nowadays you can protest about just about anything. Well, why don't I begin a protest about the fact that Disney decided to use CGI dwarves? Not even the real.
Yeah.
Stuff. We could have gotten higher. We could have gotten money for something.
Look at him.
But no.
Fuck it up.
They're so ashamed of the CGI dwarves. They don't even have it on the first flyer. Well, it's time.
Where's Mike Tyson when you need him?
Nobody's there. So it's like, and they're suing her, and they're suing Disney now. There's a class action suit that was announced yesterday.
The dwarves are suing Disney.
Yep.
Well, for discrimination.
Yes.
I'm like, oh yeah,
It was in a Daily Mail, popped it, and then USA Today. It's like, wow.
That's a Leviathan axe, though. It's Kratos' axe he's got. I'm not sure why. Probably collected it. It's like, yeah, fuck it, this'll work.
I mean, yeah, like what was it? A week ago, I was doing Piers Morgan with Gary, and they had Hornswoggle from the WWE on getting interviewed about this, and he was just raging at Peter Dinklage because he blames him entirely for like this complete fuck up, saying, who elected him king of the dwarves to be able to. Be able to decide how everyone, with dwarfism feels about this. Like maybe they wanted the work, maybe they wanted the opportunities. Like
I remember what it said. It was a remarkably fast turnaround for Disney to reply to what he said. We're talking hours or next day maximum before they put a whole statement. Dwarves aren't going to be in. They're going to be magical creatures, for which the only evidence is they can make diamonds glow in a mine. The only thing they mentioned about them being magical. But it was very bizarre, considering how slow companies move and they just have meetings about all this stuff. They were almost instant on that thing. So it must have been a big problem for him.
But he's a shithead. I mean, when you think about it, all he did was he wanted to pull up the little stepladder behind him so nobody else could get work. It's like he doesn't want anyone else to shine.
You didn't realize, though, that stepladder is only for him, so normal people can just climb right up. Like he needs it more than
he's a shithead. He's a shitheel.
He does, because he's kind of like been the quintessential, dwarf actor in Hollywood for the past, 15, 20 years now?
Pretty much.
He doesn't want it. He is, though. Like, you want a dwarf for your movie, you get fucking Peter Dinklage. He's the man.
All right. Name what he's been in outside of Game of Thrones and fucking Avengers.
He was
Elf.
the one.
That was before.
And X-Men. He was in X-Men.
He was in the
movies
one
have
with
dwarves
Vin
in them?
Diesel,
That was still before, I think. Oliver Trask. Was it Oliver Trask? That's what he played.
which is the one with Vin Diesel,
Trask.
where he played an attorney. It was about some.
Oh.
Yeah, he played an attorney. Vin Diesel was playing some story based on a real life mobster.
And he was in Pixel's MauLer, that classic movie. Real artistic merit behind it.
The fucking classic. Did anyone here see Pixel?
Yeah. I know it exists, though.
I know what he
Oh god,
He was in Wicked, apparently.
was. He? Oh,
was he in Cyrano
he
de
was, yeah.
Bergerac? Someone just said that in the chat. He was in Cyrano. He played Cyrano de Bergerac.
Yes, he was actually, yeah.
Are you shitting? Wow.
someone said in Bruges. No,
What the hell?
that wasn't Peter Dinklage.
Wow.
Let me see his filmography here. What the fuck have you been up to recently? Come on.
The Toxic Avenger.
Oh, well, it's got pretty, yeah. So, Transformers: Rise of the Beasts. I did voiceover work for that.
Did he play a turd?
Yeah, Toxic Avenger, Hunger Games, Ballad of Songbirds and Snakes.
That's right, with Zegler.
Yeah, he was in Wicked. He played Dr. Dillamond, apparently. Brothers, The Thicket, Unfrosted. What else? Angry Birds Movie 2? What the fuck? Yeah, sure. Okay, great.
Wow.
I mean, yeah. The point I'm making here, I guess, is that he's been busy. There's perhaps not too many roles that are available for a man of his stature, but he's made the most of what he has, and he doesn't want to share it.
Nope. He does not want to share it. He wants to be the only dwarf who gets to dwarf. Yeah, that's kind of crap. So you have a lot of them who are complaining about it. They've been on the news. A lot of actors saying, there are very few roles for us, and this is the one that was specifically written for us.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because my point wasn't that he's not in stuff. I already know he is. I was just like, how much stuff do you remember him even being in? What are these famous dwarf roles?
Yeah, I mean, it's not like I'm not going to pretend that every decision he's made in his career has been pure gold or anything, but Peter Dinklage has got to eat, okay, and he's working. Who are we to take that away from him? But yeah, it's kind of particularly ironic as well that with the sort of bandits group that you get, which kind of really feels like the surrogate dwarves, they have an actual dwarf in there.
They have a dwarf, yeah.
So, like, how does
Who's
that
actually
work?
quite central to it all as well.
He's the crossbow man. Because the rest of them do absolutely nothing throughout the movie, and they might as well not be there. They're just kind of hanging around. Like, he's the only guy who has something to do.
And the CGI was bad. Sorry, go ahead.
I stand by the fact that those bandits were supposed to replace the dwarves, so the dwarves were just added in at a later point in one of the reshoots. Because there were 7 of them.
Yeah.
What a weird coincidence that there were 7 bandits. And everyone's like, no, Disney denied it. Oh, behave. Come on now. Disney.
Yeah.
Disney would never lie to you. Come on. Big Disney.
You can tell that, like, so many of their scenes were cut because, like, they introduced so many of them, and
Really any
like
dialogue?
the majority of them don't even get a single line of dialogue, so they're just hanging around. It's like, well, what's the point in them being there? Clearly, they had a much bigger role in the story before, and they've been cut down to the point where they're barely in it. But they wanted the CGI dwarf. So yeah, I think Mr. H is probably right on this one. They probably were either the dwarf surrogates or like they were going to be the focal point of the story.
The bisexual baristas.
Yeah.
It's horrible. But what about the fact that going to Mr. H's point when he was saying, not that it's all on Zegler, but Disney, you take a 200-year-old German fairy tale. Did it look like a German fairy tale to you? It looked more like an LA bus stop, most of those scenes. I mean, did that look like any 200-year-old Northern European town anybody's read about?
No, it wouldn't have been that diverse if it was.
Right. It was the oddest thing you're seeing, and I'm sitting there going, yeah, that's a Los Angeles bus stop. That's what it is. No.
You are like, how do all these people get here? Like, they get here, but then they don't interbreed, because they must have been there for centuries, presumably, because they don't have cars to travel or airplanes to fly across the world. It's a massive journey you've got to undertake to travel the world in this kind of day and age. So it is very bizarre even seeing that, and it does ruin the setting because you know this place couldn't ever have existed.
Well, it kills the suspension of disbelief, Disparu, and it's
Yes.
like a movie's first job is to suck you into its make-believe world, you know, to
It was
pretend
like the
it's
Harry
real.
Potter movies. One of the best decisions she made was it needed English people in it because it's an English school,
100%.
and it wouldn't feel like an English school without English people.
Yep.
It's such a basic part of a movie that you'd think everyone would do it, but
1 + 1
nowadays
is 2.
it's a radical belief.
Did you see that clip that that was put out over Swedish television about the founding of Sweden?
No.
Oh yeah, black people. Yeah, I saw that.
Oh yeah. Oh, hold on. I got to show you this. The founding of
just-
Sweden. It was like
just
I was like,
subversive.
I thought somebody was
Right.
having me on when they sent this to me. I'm like, there's no way. It's not possible.
It's just subversive, racist nonsense that we get in everyday society now. It's garbage.
Here it is. Oh my God. It's unbelievable. A drinker. We were just talking about the fact that how one of the things that killed the suspension of disbelief was how it didn't look like a 200-year-old Northern European town, but looked more like a at an LA bus stop. Well, here Sweden put this out the other day. This is a new television series about the founding of Sweden.
Look at me. We're all Swedish now.
That's truly what I think of when I think of Nordic people.
Look at those blue eyes. Oh, piss off. Please. Oh my god.
What?
Is this supposed to be a hero lineup or something?
Line up or something.
Why
would you-
shot enough?
Yeah, it's
Why
I
would
mean,
you shout at your prey?
Well, look, I totally get the evolutionary concept that, like, as humans, we all began in Africa and we gradually migrated over the rest of the world, and so that's the ethnicity that we started off with. But like, it was not this like people from Africa didn't just suddenly decide they were going to trek like 3,000 miles northward and end up in Sweden immediately. This was a gradual process that took place over thousands of years, and we gradually changed as we did that.
It's very unlikely that we all came out of Africa, though. I think there's multiple science on that disagrees. It's more there were lots of different kind of species of human that were in different places that eventually interbred. One of the things for that would be the uncanny valley that you get when you look at something that's quite human but not quite human. It does mean at some point in history there was something close to you that you should be scared of, like you shouldn't breed with it, and it built in a disgust.
Like Scottish people.
Yes, yeah, always, yes.
I don't know. I think everybody came from Greece, damn it. It's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
you have
Well, you guys
bad
invented like modern philosophy, like mathematics, culture, art, science.
No, but it's the
pretty
fact
much
that
everything.
All of culture.
Yeah. But it's like, thanks, Greece. You did
Before
a
that,
very
they
good
were just
job there.
Scottish glassing each other in the street.
It's like you guys invented it, and then the Romans just kind of like commercialized
right,
it.
stole it. And took it.
No,
No,
the
the
Scottish
Greeks-
came in with Buckfast.
I remember.
You're welcome, world.
I always liked that the Scottish health system
Buckfast.
actually gave people iron brew as medicine. Like it was on prescription.
Look, man, every culture's got this. It's like when they had to send people into the reactor core in Chernobyl, and it's like,
Oh.
have another vodka, comrade. It'll protect you from the radiation. Will it though?
No,
I don't know.
Oh man, that's too funny. But no, it's funny. In Greece, we have something called a gaita. You know how you have bagpipes in Scotland, because I played them for 25 years. In Greece, they have the same thing, except it's just one pipe, not three. And
Right.
so I was looking at this, and I brought it to my band director one day when I was in school, and I was like, "You see, we invented it." Wrong thing to tell a Scotsman. He was like, "What did you say?" I'm like, "Greeks invented the bagpipe." He's like, "Okay, yeah, you see the fucking commode."
As long as you don't try and claim whiskey, we'll be all right with it.
Yeah, no.
When Scots have stolen everything else, they take an egg, they just wrap breadcrumbs around. Now it's a Scotch egg.
Yeah.
Everyone else has whiskey. No, it's made in Scotland. Scotch whiskey. They just steal things from around the world. And say they made it.
It's too
But if
funny.
everything about bagpipes, I was like, but they sound horrible. It's like, yeah, but the English don't like them. That's the only
I
reason
love
they like
pipes.
the bagpipes.
Oh, yeah, I love
Yeah,
pipes.
putting that on Scotland, Britain, though, we steal everything generally from the whole world. But Britain's great at it.
Yeah, we
That's
perfect
because we
it. though.
conquer. That
Yeah,
makes
we
it
make it
ours.
better.
Take
Yeah.
everything
Scottish
and we
just steal
perfect it. Take the L.
When people come to like hold us accountable as a whole island, Disparu's like, it was them.
It's not my fault they can't farm potatoes.
So are y'all gonna get ready when Zegler comes to the UK?
Yeah, she's going to be
the
performing
London
at the
Palladium.
West End, isn't she?
Yeah, she's doing
mate.
Evita. I think it is Evita.
She should probably get used to that sort of thing because that's going to be her career from now on. I don't
She
think
has
she's got
nothing
much
lined
going
up.
in Hollywood from this point forward. Because this is the thing, like nobody will ever say it publicly, like they'll never denounce her or anything, but she will just quietly not get hired for things. Like
Yeah.
casting directors will just be told, she's
Ooh.
fucking competent, do not go near her, just let's find someone else. That's it. That's all
And
it's
the
gonna
way
be.
Disney's destroying her, think about it. They're not just they're burying her, like we said earlier, under the bus. They're not just ghosting her. I mean, come on. It's like it is their fault in a way for the way they pushed her forward. I wish we could go back to the way it used to be. Studios would be like, we're contracting you for a job. Shut your mouth. Talk about the movie. Nothing
can.
else.
No,
This is the thing. They can. It's a clause in their contracts. They can. They just didn't implement it. They didn't enforce it. Disney were just completely spineless. It's in their contract. They easily could have reprimanded her, but they chose not to. Idiots.
You saw in the
Absolute idiots.
Variety article, though, that the guy flew to, which means they've already been arguing, because you would have sent her a text like, shut up or apologize.
Right.
Then they would have probably done a Zoom call. She still would have argued. So we had to fly over to her in person. She still didn't take it down. She dug her heels in and just like, no, this is staying up. That is
Do you
wild
believe
to
that?
look
It's like, yeah, up until a point, I can totally understand, like, an actress is young and they get a bit full of themselves because they've suddenly got fame and fortune thrust upon them. And, maybe they say things that they regret in retrospect. But, like, with her, it feels like she was told many times, like, stop doing this. This is really fucking harming our movie. Please stop. And then she just kept doing it. And that goes beyond just naivety and youthful enthusiasm. That just becomes, no, you're just a dick. You're a complete and total dick. And you've been told the repercussions of this and you still insisted on doing it. That's when you have to take responsibility for it and just
100%.
Yeah.
Well,
And
think
Disney
about it now.
tried to
4 films.
Disney have tried to rehab her image multiple times by doing those actors and actors interviews with the
Yeah.
Little Mermaid and stuff. Tried to make her feel nice. She went on D23 and entirely changed her tune. But then she just can't help herself when there's an election. And all of that went through Variety, which is one of the Variety article was such, like, it's basically from Disney, because that was always their angle with Rachel. They all sent all the stuff through there. It was,
Yeah.
But think about
I
it.
honestly-
Said D23. D23, right after she came out, what was it, 4 hours later? She goes on Twitter, hey, long live Palestine, free Palestine. Something like that. It's like, we just told you to shut up. Just stick to the movie.
Yeah. And when you've been told so many times and you still do it, like that's on you. And you take then the consequences of that, which is going to be you're probably never going to get hired for anything for the rest of your life. So, congratulations, you've completed the Brie Larson career destruction challenge in record time. It took Brie like 3 or 4 years. Like you did it in like 2, if that.
And how much money has she lost? Think about it. West Side Story, 100 million. Shazam! Fury of the Gods, 125. Y2K and Snow White and Hunger Games.
The closest she came was Hunger Games, but that I think succeeded, and I think it was a marginal success at best. But I think that succeeded on the strength of the brand and the name rather than her being in it.
But it was the lowest grossing one out of all of them.
It was.
Yeah.
So yeah, you're right. Casting director or studio going to look at. She's lost almost $500 million in her career. Yeah, nope.
And what great ammunition for sort of Gina Carano in this case, and that you've got an almost one-to-one thing. Except this actress actually attacked Gina Carano while she was getting cancelled. And with one, when she said something, they were like, "Oh, we'll just put a PR agent on you after we fly across the country to try and tell you off, to try and silence you." Well, they went to so much lengths with Rachel, and with the other one, just fire them.
Yeah.
Mental.
Here's something as well.
Disney.
Mr. T himself has come back from the 1980s to talk to us. Says, I hate the movie, but I think Snow White will do slithly. I guess you're trying slightly better third weekend due to it being the month of Ramadan currently upon the Middle East. Over 1.5 billion people not going to the cinema during this month, but still won't save Disney, though. How many people in the Middle East are going to want to see a German folklore fairy tale?
I don't know.
I'm just call me crazy on this one. I don't think it's going to have too much cultural appeal over there.
By a Colombian girl who's a big man. Yeah, no.
Snow White has essentially got this weekend coming, right? And then Minecraft comes out the weekend after. And so that's going to obliterate anything that Snow White's got going on. Because Minecraft is probably going to be a big hit, whether it deserves to be or not.
That lack of live action momentum I was talking about, I realized like a lot of these things, I don't even know how many people remember what has come out, but there was, remember Mulan?
Yeah.
That was the thing.
That crashed miserably, like no one cared. You got that Peter Pan one that happened. I don't think anyone. The Pinocchio with Tom Hanks. Remember that was a thing in 2021, 2020. And then of course Little Mermaid, which I think failed as well. What I'm saying is like they are squeezing the last of the juice out of the this era of remakes, which we've said before. This just means that they're going to move on to somewhere else, most likely more popular, more modern, and then I'm just waiting for the day they announce the Pixar remakes. It's going to be a fucking nightmare.
Yeah. Well, they're already doing the Lilo and Stitch remake, right? Like,
yes, they are.
You know, I think actually that's quite a smart one though. Because I think people forget.
I think that one is much more inclined to be successful.
I think it'll make money.
The more interesting one is the Moana live action remake.
Yeah.
Oh shit, that's like opening the door.
I think Moana will probably do pretty well.
That's a big
there's no controversy around it really, and it's like it's so fresh in people's minds that it's probably going to stick really closely to the animated one.
There's information on Hercules, Robin Hood, Aristocats, Bambi, and Tangled, all getting live action remakes. By the way,
oh my god,
various forms of pre-production.
How are they going to do the Bambi one? They're going to show the deer being.
The answer to every question that relates to that is just look at the Lion King.
That's good point. Well,
you think there would be at least a learning process from this? Well, I suppose there's not going to be a learning process from the Lion King because although Mufasa kind of bombed, the Lion King itself was like their most successful live action remake of anything.
Did Mufasa bomb? I thought it just didn't do as well.
It bombed the first 2 weeks.
I say bomb. It was not as successful. Let's see. What did it get?
I think the first 2 weeks of bomb, they freaked out. And I think Christmas might have said.
They kept it in theaters for so long.
Yeah, it did eventually.
So, it kind of clawed its way up to 720 million.
No the success of the first one, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
I think that was the first crack showing. So yeah, I don't know if they'll be super keen to do more ones that center like very directly around animals, but who knows?
Plus, I gotta say this: when I was in the theater, the 3 other people that were there, 2 of them laughed with me when you had Gal Gadot, do the whole magic mirror on the wall. Who's the fairest of them all? It's like you can't buy into any of it. It's you're like Rachel Zegler, Gal Gadot, Rachel Zegler. Come on.
Well, the thing is, they changed.
I know they did.
Well, no, but they're so, no, it's not. No, they're so exactly. So they're so dumb. They hired a literal model to play the evil queen, and they do actually go along with the fact that she's more attractive for a while, right? They actually do frame it like that, and then they're suddenly like, well, actually, what I now mean is someone's fairer inside. It's like, well, hold on 1 second. If that's the case, Mr. Mirror on the Wall, you're telling me the only person that's fairer than the evil queen is Snow White?
Why would the queen want to be fair?
Burn them all.
Right.
Well, but then it's like
who cares?
But then if it's like if I murder this girl who's fairer than me, who's nicer than me, then I'm the fairest of them all, right? Because I committed murder, and the murderer's like, yeah, sure, let's go with that.
And
like the movie can't.
It was straight up beauty because it says that her magic, her power, comes from her beauty. It's not her beauty internally or her personality or anything. It's just.
And you made a good video about this just recently, talking about like there was a moral lesson to be derived from the original Snow White, not just the fairy tale, but also the animated movie, where it's like for all things there is a season in life, and like the more you try to hang on to things like physical beauty beyond your time, the more it's going to ultimately lead to your own, either your downfall or just disappointment and failure. You know, and it's about teaching you that like there's always going to be another generation that's up and coming that's eventually going to replace you, and like you have to move on to a different stage of life at that point and be worth more than just your beauty. But like this movie can't grapple with that, and so it tries this awkward like halfway house between beauty and like, you know, justice and the pursuit of like fairness for everyone, and it mashes them all together into this just philosophical like stew that just does not work in the slightest. And the movie just can't get past that. Like, it doesn't even know what it's trying to tell you as a viewer.
Well, it broke the core of the story. I mean, the book and the 37 animated is about true love and the sin of vanity.
Yeah.
Exactly, kind of like what you were saying. And this one was like a journey of self-discovery for one person who survived a snowstorm as a baby, so therefore she was Snow White.
Well, someone who lusts after power is generally not a hero, but like that's what they try to frame it as in this movie, because Snow White ultimately wants power so that she can be, in her mind, a fair and just ruler.
Yeah,
you know, just like Sauron was wanting to be in Lord of the Rings.
They almost awkwardly imply that the evil queen wants to be a better person to defeat the leaderboard on the magic mirror, which makes no fucking sense. Everything's all turned around.
I was just team poison apple all the way. That's all I'll say.
Sure, I wanted them all to eat the apple and just fucking die.
Oh, yeah. It's just
it's
retarded reason to eat the apple as well. You're going on a long journey. You'll need the energy.
Yeah,
You couldn't have gone with a better thing than that.
It's like take this fucking dirty apple from my gnarled and warty hands. Like, yeah, sure. I'm not hungry.
Surrounded by apple trees in the forest, by the way.
It's like, you know, I've only walked like 2 miles from the castle. I could literally see it from here. It's not going to take me long to get there.
Yeah, take this apple for the road or whatever. It would have been fun if she pocketed it. But thanks, and leaves. Like, no, now.
Eat it now. Yeah, no. So the thing is how does Bob Iger still have a job?
Just same reason Kathleen Kennedy has a job. They know too many people. They're too powerful.
They're like the evil queen.
They're like that gigantic post-fucking kebab turd that you did that just won't flush. And like, it doesn't matter how hard you try to get rid of it, it just won't go. It's like that. Yeah. They're too powerful, man.
You fill the board with your own cronies and they don't vote you out.
Yeah.
I know, but when you get this kind of publicity and it's failing at the same time, and you get multiple of them, at some point.
That's why they came out. That's why they threw Zegler under the bus, because someone's head had to roll. And so if they can blame it on her and bad publicity, nobody has to look at the studio or anyone else, the writers.
And if Thunderbolts fails, and I mean, I don't know, I just see a lot of failure till they learn their lesson.
Yeah.
It doesn't seem anybody is course correcting over there quickly.
Well, I think it's become almost mainstream now that people are just rooting for them to fail. Like any new Disney product, like people are almost primed for like, oh, what's the controversy going to be around this? What stupid agenda are they going to push? Like, we can't wait for this one to fail to prove us, you know, to prove them wrong yet again. And when that becomes the mainstream public opinion, like, of course, everything that they release is going to fail because nobody's going to want to support them. And that seems to be the direction they're heading in.
I had a guy who had to inspect like a drain that may have been fucked at my place. Turns out it was absolutely fine. But the guy who came in just had a chat with him, as you do. You love it. It's like,
I think
by the way, my drains were inspected recently.
The drainage system turns out that's not
we'll never get to where it was going.
He came round and he said, "I came to inspect your pipes."
Kebabs? Is this what the kebabs?
I was thinking about that David Tennant thing where he tried to like boil human corpses and flush them down his toilet.
He found a tooth down there.
Disparu, you'll like the payoff of this story, right?
Sorry.
So we're just chatting back and forth, random shit, you know, get him his cup of tea, and he's just talking about random stuff, like I said, and talking about like the state of the place we're in, different shops closing over time and stuff, and some of his favorites. He mentioned he really likes Greg's, you know, proper British shop.
Don't we all?
And he was talking about how he just randomly threw out. He was like, "Yeah, I love the gingerbread men, or should I say gingerbread them?"
He says that's all his customers.
Fucking tradesman just calling it like it is.
Well, did I read it today that in the UK they're going to ban samurai swords?
No, ninja swords.
Ninja
apparently.
swords.
According to Keir Starmer,
If I just
fucking
don't
ninja
do
swords.
anything for a couple of months, I get 6 months in prison. I'm like, what?
I know.
If I hadn't read a tweet about it, I wouldn't have known. It would have just sat there.
Thing is, like they've banned ninja swords, but have they banned ninjas?
Oh.
So the ninja wars will continue in the UK unabated.
You know,
It's so
Why can't
fucking
we just say
stupid.
katana?
Like, fuck these retards that run the country. Like, what the fuck's happened to Britain? Honestly, we've become the laughingstock of the entire world. We used to be a country. Now we're like, yeah, we're banning ninja swords. Okay, great.
We're
That's
an
going to fix
economic
all the
zone
problems
for
in
the
our
third
country. Yeah,
world.
nice one, Keir.
Gary was saying, like, when's the next South Park thing coming out? And I was like, they can't anymore. The world's too stupid. They can't parody this. It's too late. They've gone too far. That's that. You know, the banning of ninja swords. When I saw it, I was like, come on. How is this? How is this our timeline? What's going on?
They're going to get to the point where they ban all sharp objects in the UK.
Spoons.
Like,
Like,
because
know
we have to be
how that-
protected from ourselves and our own stupidity, and it's going to be mandatory that you have to wear like bubble wrap around
Mittens.
yourself.
But that's the thing.
Keep
Those
yourself
aren't even
safe.
sharp. Those are like mall things that I got as a gift ages ago. But I don't think at any point in the law does it matter. They just see, oh, it's a Sam. I don't even know what a ninja sword's meant to be. I think they mean katanas. But for some reason,
so.
same thing as zombie daggers.
What the hell was that?
Describe
You know what they
the
could
dagger.
do? That they could just, ban the people coming
Yes.
into the country that culturally want to mess people up with that. I mean, they could just do that, couldn't they?
No,
But that's
no,
much
no.
more
It's
difficult.
the
That's
ninjas
much
that you have to
more
worry about, Mr. H. What are you talking about?
Oh, yeah. Yeah,
You don't know
third
where they are.
world.
You've never
Pretty
seen
sure
one.
there's a ninja on my
Rocking
roof
out.
right now, just waiting to strike.
damn, you
Like,
heard him? He was supposed to be.
The
stealthy.
moment I go outside to let the dog goes out later, like he's going to be like throwing stars just raining down around
Shadow
me.
Scotland edition.
Scottish ninja.
It's crazy.
Well, it's
I
the same
mean,
thing that we saw in it wasn't it was 2 weeks ago, Daredevil now, where there was an entire scene about how a guy was a thief, but it was wrong to punish him, despite the fact
dude.
it's done 30
Oh, God,
times.
yes.
It's like, no,
I
actually,
just-
punishment makes it worse. It's like, no, if that guy had, like, if you were like, well, you've stolen something, we're going to have to cut your hand off, nobody would steal anything. And it's the
Yeah.
same with anything else. Punishment.
That's as far as I've gotten with
course it
Daredevil at
works.
the moment, because that
100%.
episode almost like killed any willpower I had to keep watching this show. When you've got this fucking career criminal who's just like been caught robbing places time after time, and he's bitching about how it's unfair. You know, like society puts these unfair restrictions on him because, like, he can't afford anything sweet, and he wanted
Well, he's
to
not
have.
working.
He wanted to have
honestly-
something nice for himself. So, instead of working a job and earning it, he just fucking decided he was going to steal it. And he doesn't understand the problem with that. You're a fucking criminal scumbag. Fuck you.
The worst
Go
of
to
it is,
jail.
like, I don't mind having a character who believes that and is wrong, but Daredevil is wrong according to the show in that conversation.
Yeah.
Like, that
right,
guy
but
is
that was the
correct.
problem. You're right, man. He was going along with it in the end. He turned it around.
Yeah.
But I was like, wait a minute. You're supposed to say, okay, 1, you don't steal. 2, stop. You're fucking bad at it. But it's wrong to do. But no, Daredevil, I can see your point of view. I'm like, what?
It reminds me of that scene from Liar Liar. When it's like he's going into his office and like obviously he can't lie now, and he gets a phone call from someone. It's like, oh, he's been arrested for the 3rd time for like public nudity or something. And it's like, do you have any advice for him? And he just grabs the phone and he just screams into it, "Stop breaking the law, asshole!"
Yes, exactly.
There's your fucking advice there. Why is the show siding with people like that? This is why
I didn't
despise
think anyone
about
would
it.
be on his side, but then I don't know if you've seen Jay Longbone's Twitter, but she was like, this guy just needed to get roundhouse kicked in the face or something, and she's just been replying all day to people who was like, no, you just don't understand. This is a nuanced message. This is the first deep message I've seen in entertainment. I can't believe, even when it was spoon-fed to you, you can't comprehend how deep this was. And they're genuinely all in.
But it's just the same way that they renamed in California and New York criminals, justice impacted individuals.
What?
Oh, it's a long time. Justice impact. It was in my video.
They are morally impaired, okay?
Yeah, I go through this whole list and but yeah.
Yeah, because like, isn't it in California as well? Like, if you steal something, like if you steal stuff that amounts to less than like $900, like they just won't. They won't care. They won't try and pursue you or anything.
Yeah, we basically got that here now.
There are places in America where they've got like Doritos in security boxes.
Yeah,
stealing's got so out of hand.
This is the world that you created. Good luck with that.
Walgreens. I went to
We've
Walgreens.
got the same here. You go to a
into a
boot or
Tesco.
something, you'll see loads of stuff just all behind lock and key. Nonsense.
I know here for a fact. Like if you get burgled, like someone breaks into your house and steals a bunch of your shit, you call the police. They will straight up tell you, if they're halfway honest, they will just say, "There's no point in calling us. Like we can't do anything. We're not going to pursue it. We'll never find that stuff. You just file an insurance claim. That's the best you can hope for. You're never getting any of that back."
Police in tweets instead, aren't they? Bunch of absolute scumbags.
But yeah, this is what almost broke me with Daredevil Born Again, where it's like that episode and like watching Wilson Fisk go to marriage counseling and basically get cucked in front of the audience. Like, yeah, like his wife's just describing in pleasurable detail why she was so attracted to the guy that she cheated on him with.
His hands.
Yeah, and it's like, is this a humiliation ritual?
The therapist was on her side. He was basically saying, well, you only cheated because you were emotionally unsatisfied. And she wanted him to know how she was emotionally unsatisfied. Like, all that counseling does not work because it's not set up to be a sort of a male experience in the first place, where you'd be like, there is a problem, we are going to fix the problem and solve it. Instead, everyone's got to worry about their feelings and how that's actually the main point of life now.
Well, I think why wasn't she scared? What's that?
I said, why wasn't she, the therapist, terrified of Kingpin?
I don't think she knows him.
He's the mayor. Yeah.
Remember, he was.
Nobody fucking knows him anymore, Drinker.
Yeah, what do you mean? He was in the paper from the last Netflix series.
Because there's a conversation she has with Vanessa where she's like, "I have to ask this. You know, like, are you in fear for your life with this guy?" And she just kind of laughs it off, saying like, "Yeah, he could never hurt me." And I just thought, no, you shouldn't really be that confident. Like, having seen what he's capable of. You know, I get that he's madly in love with you and stuff, but like he is a fucking dangerous individual.
You really see that in the latest one. I don't know if you want to get into spoilers for what's happened in the last one, but it does change. 5 is a weird episode. It's kind of on its own. It's just in a bank robbery. It's a bottle episode, but I think that actually makes it better because you don't have all the crap from the first 5 with the boring characters and everything.
The hostage negotiation thing was embarrassing.
I'm not saying it was a good episode, but it was better than anything else that's been in the series. I despise the first 4. This was at least an episode of television.
I like the first 15 minutes of episode 1. That was basically it.
That was nice, yeah.
The first 15
apart from like the whole Foggy getting killed thing, but
yeah, I wanted Karen to get popped, not Foggy.
The end of episode 6 is like the start of episode 1.
It's but it takes so fucking long to get there. Like, because we've had a lot of Matt Murdock just being Matt Murdock and not being Daredevil, and it's like there's a slow burn, and then there's just actually wasting time, and that's kind of where we're at now with this.
Yeah, it's doesn't it remind you of season 2 of Netflix Daredevil in ways? Like that's what feels. Besides the marriage counseling bits, it's like, and the criminal who needs to be a criminal and locked his ass up in jail. It feels like they went back to the well for it again. It's like, oh, Matt doesn't want to be Daredevil, you know, his friend.
Yeah, a little bit.
They've absolutely retreaded some shit in a much more incompetent way. It's fucking annoying to watch. The funny thing I was going to bring up was I asked Az if he'd seen 4 and 5, and he's like, I haven't seen 3. I was like, oh, fucking hell. Like, the audience is lost. It doesn't matter if they were to pump out now like 3 great episodes. It's too late. The audience are gone.
What did they reshoot though? Because this was all supposed prior to the reshoots. All the leaks were like, "Yeah, this is bad." Foggy dies at the start. He gives up being Daredevil. He becomes Daredevil right towards the end, and they're like, "Oh yeah, it's crap. We're going to reshoot it." What have they reshot? Because it just sounds the same.
Yeah. I think they haven't so much reshot it as they've reordered the episodes.
If you go autistic into it, you can see some seams. Like, for example, the Vanessa scenes have all been apparently reshot because they didn't even have her in the original vision, the actress.
Oh, really?
They had a recast Vanessa. This is bringing back the old actress as part of what Cox and D'Onofrio managed to negotiate, right?
So these therapy scenes are new.
Yeah, why add them?
They're the same, but they reshot. Well, technically, they had to reshoot to get that actress in. So,
oh, I see.
That would have been the first thing you cut, though. If
hell
you
yeah,
wouldn't want to refilm.
I'm not going to make any claims about exactly what their restrictions were, but the other thing is the first episode was entirely their own, the new guys.
Mhm.
2, 3, 4, 5, and 6, I think, are all a part of the old run.
Crap.
And 7, 8, 9 is supposed to be the new run again. So
Mm.
it's like it's confusing, and you know, we talked about this on another open bar when Razorfist was here. There's a couple of conflicting reports on exactly what happened, but if you watch 2 and 3, you can see how they stupidly thought they could start the season with that, implying Foggy had died a long time ago, and it's had this effect on Matt. He's just Mayor Fisk now because they quote unquote set that up in Echo. You see, the first episode gives us context on how he died. It shows him campaigning as mayor, and it has Karen explaining why she's not in the show. They tried to like fix a lot of this stuff, but I still thought episode 1 was crap. And when they had even the amount of control they had, that they could have done a way better job.
What about the Kamala Khan crap? What was that all about?
That was in the bank
What?
episode. It
Yeah, the
doesn't make
bank
any
episode.
sense to have Kamala Khan's
Oh,
father.
yeah,
They
Drinker,
keep
they-
talking about Kamala Khan all the
Wayne
time.
shut up.
Is she in it?
No,
No,
but they
but her father
talk
is. He's
about
the
it, yeah.
bank manager.
Who won't
Oh,
just
shut
keeps
up
talking
about
about
it?
her.
Fuck.
Yeah.
It's so out of place that they just keep talking about Kamala for no reason whatsoever, and then they bring up that she's a superhero. It's
Over.
Oh
and
no!
over
Like
and
I don't
over.
want any of this crap in Daredevil.
no, and as a bank thing, what they should have done, they needed to go away and watch Money Heist, and then if they'd made episode 5 like a shortened Money Heist, could have been a really good episode of television. They're taking from the wrong things. They don't seem to know how to write the settings that they're doing. It's like with Fisk now, they finally entered a time where someone's murdering people. So he wants to stop the murders. So how does it? Well, he only knows crime. So he's using the criminal element of the police to be like, do whatever you want. You can commit crime as long as you stop these people dying. That's an interesting idea of like a mayor trying to do good with crime.
Right.
But
Well-
taking 6 episodes to get there is
Yeah.
farcical.
Because this is like one of the few interesting aspects of the show where it's like you get to see Fisk thrust into this position of power or supposed power, where he actually finds out gradually like he's got less power than he did as an actual crime lord, because he can't just snap his fingers and make things happen.
Yeah.
Everything has to go through red tape, everything has to be consensus, and it's like the frustration of
but-
trying to be a politician. There's something there that you could work with, but God, like that's not
Drink,
enough
he
for a
was-
show like this.
He was a city planner. A lot of
Yes.
what he did was official and legal, so it doesn't make any fucking sense that he's unaware of all of this.
Yes, correct. In the season 1, and he knew all of this. It just doesn't. A lot of it doesn't make sense. What doesn't make sense to me is why John Bernthal, the stories that had come out, is that he had turned down the role of Punisher in Daredevil Born Again because he said the way that when he originally read the script, he said it wasn't the Punisher to him, but he came back when he saw the rewrites. I'm like,
That's why the one I'd read out on Open Bar, I think 2 open bars ago, said that we won't see Punisher or Karen until episode 8, I think it was. And I was like, oh, well, we got a bit of Punisher. And it's like, yeah, you didn't really
Yeah.
get Punisher, though, did you? You got Frank Castle, a scene with him talking.
Yeah. And to be fair, like watching them play off each other was good. Like the performances were great.
Oh, yeah.
But
No,
like, that's
I-
just like
I-
2 minutes of a pretty weak episode otherwise.
it's just a shame. It's a shame. It's a shame. How many episodes now without his suit? How many episodes now Daredevil? It's 5.
He gets into it at the end of
finally.
6.
5.5
Yeah.
episodes now, you know.
He looks at the helmets in episode 4, so that's nice.
That counts.
Gets close. Yeah, like
And I think he gets into the suit by just looking out and going, screw it.
Oh, wait a minute.
It's
What
like,
about
I might as well get in it. It's such a weird
Dude,
way
the
to get
fucking
back
little
in character.
girl is the one that like pushes him to do it by saying like, you should do something about all of these people. 60 fucking people got kidnapped, and it's only her that managed to crack like where it's coming from.
He's got super hearing. For years, he's been hearing
Yeah.
everybody dying around him. He's like, nah, I don't care. And then we're just suddenly, now is that enough?
They literally did this arc in the Defenders season, which I'd assume nobody watched. Like he had
I
to comment
saw.
on how he was listening to people in agony and stuff, and it's like they just completely ignored. You can't ignore it, by the way. He saves the world. He defeats the Hand. Stick dies in the Defenders season. So these are all
Horrible.
events that, yeah, it was horrible. All of these events have to be canon for season 3 to be canon. You know what I mean? Like, which is a really solid season. So it's just really annoying that because watching Kingpin just fumble in every one of these episodes as the mayor when they're obviously building up his frustration so they can have him take it all out and become the Kingpin. It's like, sure, you got the anger down and Vincent D'Onofrio will take care of that for you, but he's not stupid. Like, He's not unaware of how a lot of this works. So I've just been watching all these different characters, trying to approximate the thing that they're trying to make money off, which is the originals.
What about his girlfriend? What about Matt's girlfriend in the last one, who started asking him about her? The one who said about her second book. The publishers wanted her to write a second book, and it was getting into the mind, the psychology of a vigilante. She's like, he was looked at her. He's like, because she's like, do you know Frank Castle and Daredevils? Like, you can help me with this. Like, okay, so now we're gonna have Matt Murdock, who's going to be setting up to be the fucking View. Hey, let me sit you down with the Punisher.
Yeah.
You can just tell the way it was. I want Stephen DeKnight back.
Yeah.
For me, it just felt like there was a huge downgrade at the end of episode 5, the moment all the side characters came in. And it felt like a different show. At least it was Daredevil doing Daredevil stuff without having to worry about all this. I do think it's the side characters which drag down a lot of the episodes. You just cut them out and focused on him. Yeah, you'd have less episodes. But I think you could have had decent ones.
I'm with you on that.
Faster.
Yeah.
It's like they invested too much money in the initial run, like the initial shooting schedule, and it's like they tried to keep too much. That's too shit.
That lawyer he's partnered with, I've forgotten her name again. I used to know it. She's so strange to me in terms of like whenever she pops up and has a scene, I'm like, oh fuck yeah, you're in this show. What have you got to say? And it's usually just like, Matt, we should do X and we shouldn't do Y. And he's like, okay, maybe. And that's that.
Well, usually he'll say like, well, you're the most brilliant lawyer that I know, so like clearly I need to listen to you. Like, the
thing is aren't they shooting season 2 now, or has pre-production started?
Yeah, they are. Yeah.
So the ratings are in the toilet.
They are, yeah.
And if season 2 is they got full control, so we get a better season, it's like it won't matter, dude. It's already over.
It's like Rings of Power. Why do you keep going? You have no audience left.
It's pride. Because if they said they were going to do 5 seasons and then they only do 2 and then cancel it, like, wow, that's an admission of defeat.
The sad thing is this was supposed to be a really strong bit of evidence that things were getting better for Marvel, so to speak. And if you want to argue this is a step or a toe in the right direction, sure, maybe. But like, I'd say this is more depressing than anything else.
If the intention was to do something more mature and more, I don't know, grounded and somewhat believable, then it's a massive step forward from something like Echo, which was their first foray into this. So there's that. But it's like, you're still... When you're using Daredevil as your starting point, it's inevitably going to be compared to the Netflix show, and you're just light years away from that in terms of quality and writing strength.
It is a literal sequel season, so it has to be. A lot of the information you have to work with relies on those other seasons.
Yeah.
And I'm starting to realize, like, with any announcement of any given reboot, certainly of TV shows, I'd say it's more important they're bringing back the people who wrote those episodes than the actors at this point. Like when they announce like any given thing, and it's just like there's no interest in bringing in the people who wrote it. What's the fucking point? It's like, it's got the famous actors all from and you're like, that's worse if anything.
They swap writers even after a successful series. It's so weird. If you have a hit, do everything you can to keep it the same. Pay them whatever they need to get them back in the room, but try and keep everybody the same. We've seen it with game studios. By the time the sequel comes out, there's been so much a turnover of staff that a sequel could be crap, even though it's by the same development company.
I wonder how the Punisher series is going to do. Is it going to be the same group?
Man,
that's doing Daredevil Born Again?
Because season 2 of Punisher wasn't even that great anyway.
No. And this isn't even a season. It's like a special feature or something. It's like a proof of concept almost. See how the audience take it, I guess.
Ugh. Yeah, man.
I think it's going to collapse. And they've probably already had meetings about how bad the ratings are for this first season. And I'm sure that the guys who took over were probably like, because you fucked us. It's fucked. The whole thing is fucked.
Is it because it was the ratings were pretty shit right off the bat? So is it like poor quality of writing, or is it just a damaged brand that people have got no faith in?
You do have to wonder, if it were a great show through and through every episode, would the ratings still have been kind of iffy? Probably. But we could have hoped they would have built it up, right? Kind of like had an Andor sort of situation.
Yeah.
Where the ratings go up. But I don't know. It's hard to say at this point.
Because the thing is now, if you watch the first 20 minutes or whatever that original fight is of episode 1, and then skip to sort of the last 15 or 20 of episode 6, I don't think you would have missed anything. You would have just gone, oh, Fisk, his wife cheated on him. And that would have given you the entire context you needed for every episode. It's just been a huge waste of time.
Yeah. Tell you what, should we answer some super chats? Since we're here, there's a bunch of questions that we have that people have for all of us. So I'll try and go through them in priority order. But first one here from TWF says, MauLer, so glad that you mentioned Anastasia in your Snow White EFAP, especially the song Dark of the Night. Got to do an EFAP of it now. On that note, what is everyone's quick take on the Anastasia animated film? Love Rasputin as a villain archetype.
Well, they would have known mine because I thought it was fucking awesome. And yes, we'll probably do EFAP movies on it someday because me, Frankie, and Rags are all big fans of it.
I've seen it once, like a long time ago. I thought it was fine. Yeah,
I've never seen it.
Damn.
Don't remember. I don't even know what this is. Don't remember.
Uncultured swine.
Yeah.
Yeah,
pick it up. Yeah, it's a while now, but yeah, I remember it being okay. It was pretty decent. Yeah, nothing much beyond that. It's quite interesting that they actually had the balls to do some real world stuff like that. And
oh no, I've seen that.
Yeah,
it was all right from what I remember.
Yeah, no one's got much beyond that. It was all right. Yeah, I guess. Okay, let me bring up the list here from the beginning. Right. 1 second while it loads. All right, there we go. Okay.
That was a lot longer than 1 second.
Yeah. No, I was going to
go.
I was
like,
going to. I was deciding like
because it's ready.
Where's
Does anyone ever truly mean 1 second when they say?
Yeah.
Well, yeah, but then he went, "Oh, here it is." So I thought he'd found it straight away.
I did have it, and then I was like, "Wait, have I answered that one already? Let me skip forward slightly, and I'll check." Anyway, Elsie Le Pen says, "Seeing Ian McKellen in the MCU is just being surrounded by green screen during The Hobbit again. It's depressing. This isn't a hype train; it's a car wreck." It's hard to argue with that, really.
Yes.
Yep.
Joey Bag of Donuts says, what do you put the over-under at for character assassinations for Doomsday? It's got to be pretty bad, really.
Pretty bad.
I think it's going to be more than 50%. Norwegian Kryptonian says, 100,000 viewers are about 1 million box office. Right, okay. Fair enough. Des Roma says, aside from deleting half the cast within the first 5 minutes, how would you all make this bloated movie possibly work? Yeah, I would have to delete a lot of them pretty quickly and focus on a core group of characters. You can't do more than 5 or 6 at most when it comes to multiversal stuff like this.
Well, it's going to end up like Deadpool and Wolverine, where you just have to walk into rooms and they happen to be there, and they're there for a couple of minutes, and then you walk off and leave them.
Some meta jokes. I was about to say tied together with a story, but not even Deadpool and Wolverine could do that. So.
I mean, would you clump them together? So get all the X-Men together for one scene, and then boom, you've done that.
Jeez.
Well,
You might
depends.
have to.
Yeah, but I would do what MauLer was originally talking about in the beginning of at the top of the hour, where he was saying just do it more. Like if you had an idea to do it for Doomsday, to do it for Dr. Doom, just do a show about him and then show everybody else coming in and how they're going to fight him in the end. That's how I would do it. Bring it down to 5 or 6 people, but show how he came to rise in power. I mean, how many people actually know about Doom outside of people who read comic books and watch the original Fantastic Four movies? Build him up a little bit.
That's the thing, though. If you do that and you commit to that, the 1,000 other characters are going to get like 2 minutes at maximum. Which, if you want to do it like that, you can. I'd probably do it like that. To be honest, it's such an embarrassment.
Well, it makes much more sense to draw everybody into the villain, show it from the villain's perspective.
Well, it worked with Thanos, right?
Yeah.
Well, the issue you have is like you could end up with the Scarlet Witch situation, though, where you bring all these people back and you just watch them die over and over again, which nobody wants. You don't want to watch your favorite characters repeatedly die to the villain.
Yeah.
That's kind of what I was getting at with like the 1,000 people just go to each room, kill them all, another room, kill them all.
Next one is Mr. Taco Booty, who says, the last good Avengers movie was the first one, but clearly Marvel forgot that. I know he made AOU. Sorry, what was that?
Age of Ultron?
Yeah, that was it. But Joss would do better than the Russos, to be honest.
Ooh.
Remember, he left. He could have done Infinity War and Endgame, but he refused because of how the project for AOE went. Like, he didn't enjoy making Age of Ultron because he didn't have control. Which is weird. Why would you take control away from him after the Avengers? You know, it's like that movie did shit tons well, but apparently they desperately wanted particular things set up. If you remember, there's loads of random scenes in that film that are just like, what is this for? And you're like, that's for a future movie.
But they did that in Phase 2, where all the directors stopped having any control. Kenneth Branagh had it in Phase 1 with Thor. You had, Iron Man. Everyone got to do put their own imprint, their own vision. Phase 2, when it all started, it's like, hey, we just need your name on this. Just do what you're told.
I mean, there is a push and pull to that. Like, you don't want too much. Like we were talking earlier about how a lot of people seem to want to, in an ego way, get their own way with every fucking project that come in, every IP. So I get a unification or at least some kind of control that keeps everything in some level of line. But yes, a lot of creatives have left Disney broadly, not even just Marvel, because of how much of a nightmare it is to work for them and how crushing it is as an artist.
It's when you find out that even the fight scenes are choreographed before you have a script. So now you're not writing a story that makes sense. You have to write to a point. So things have to happen whether it makes sense or not, kind of thing.
It's like it's like kind of pre-made chunks that are just ready to go. So it's like, okay, we'll write the story up until this point, and then slot generic fight scene number 4271 into the script here, and then carry on with the rest of it. It's just a sad assembly line way of making movies, man.
It's all copy and paste now.
Yeah. Chupa says, thanks, Disparu. I've had echo in my head all night at work.
Sorry.
Yeah. Canon Falderall, also from 1936, Three Godfathers from the 1912 novel, remade 1948 with John Wayne, and 2003 as an anime, Tokyo Godfathers. Cheers. Nice, I like it. Ed Song says, Doomsday looks like it will be as expensive or even more expensive than Endgame. Even if it is good, what is the follow-up to it? The build-up to Infinity War was set up through several movies. Yeah, exactly like I said. There's no setup for this. It's just throw a bunch of shit you recognize into a film and hope that you get excited.
It's even, like I said, it's even less setup. All these characters are coming from movies that aren't even in the universe. It seemed a bit rushed with Infinity War when it's like, here come... You were having like Guardians meeting up with a bunch of other teams that have never met before. You're like, oh, isn't there going to be a lot of shit to do? And it's like, well, they managed to somehow pull that off. But bring it in what? Like the vast majority of the cast from a different universe. Like, Jesus.
Riley Hill says, Yvonne Strahovski should have been Captain Marvel instead of Brie Larson. She's got the good comedic and dramatic acting chops, plus she's really hot. She is actually really hot,
To be clear, that would still have been an awful film no matter who you cast.
Yeah,
but she's better looking.
Yeah,
she's better looking. At least you can enjoy it when you have to review it.
Would she have been too old by that point? I don't know.
Did you see her in Dexter?
Yeah, but that was then quite a long time ago. So, yeah. Sadly, time comes for us all. Yes. Lord Asperger says, greetings all. It looks like they're going to be throwing the kitchen sink at this. It does not bode well. That is, true.
Yeah.
Box Brain Ben says, I think Marvel's dead. Ignoring the woke stuff, it's so convoluted and bloated. Honestly, I don't know if wiping the board cleaning starting over is going to be enough. It would probably help, to be fair.
It won't do shit if they don't change the way they make films.
But the people making the films, because even if they reboot it, it'll just be the same movies, but starting from scratch. So
they've learned a lot of the wrong lessons.
What I'm getting at is, like, even if they bring in talented people, it doesn't seem to matter anymore, right? Sam Raimi, it's not like he could save MOM.
Yeah, because it's not just him on the movie. You'd have to get rid of everybody or bring everybody back. Like, all the people from a set, and even as we've seen with Doctor Who, you can bring back the people that revive something. They are different people now. A lot of people have changed over the last 10 years.
Definitely.
Right, you need Perlmutter back to run everything. I think you need Perlmutter at the top.
They'll never do it as well. He's too problematic these days. But yeah, ironically,
that's
he was
exactly
the guy
what you need, then.
Yeah, exactly.
Everybody should be problematic. Essentially, you want to do a movie which is so controversial they start complaining about it and just fire all of them. You use it as a test to get people to complain, and then you get rid of everyone that complains.
That's a pretty good strategy, actually. Mega Spidey Man says, Clive Revel, the original emperor in Empire, has passed away at the age of 94. May he rest in peace. I wanted to ask you all, what were your favorite parts of Order 66? that took a turn there.
Yeah, okay, yeah. I kind of like the entire sequence in Revenge of the Sith, the way they do the music and the betrayal the Jedi have to experience with the clones that they likely had pretty strong relationships with, commanding and stuff.
I think my favorite bit was Aayla Secura getting killed, where it's just like everyone just absolutely lays into her with blaster fire at like point blank range.
Yeah, the camera moves so that
Dodge
it
that.
gets in the way of it because they were like, "This is a bit rough. I don't know if we should show this."
Yeah.
I liked it with Yoda when he felt it.
That dude was
That's
angry. He was chopped the heads off.
No, because he was like, you see him, he hunches over, and then you have the I guess on Kashyyyk with the Wookiees.
No, yeah, you're right. And then when they come to kill him, he wipes them out. Imagine being the clone trooper told to execute Yoda.
Yeah,
be like,
fuck.
Do I really have to do this?
I think I got a cold. let Gary do it.
There's breaking news as well for all of us. From Butter Biscuit says head of Amazon Studios is stepping down, and I just checked this as well. Jennifer Salke steps down as head of Amazon MGM Studios, segues into producing with First Look Deal.
Didn't we talk about this?
No, I don't think we have so far. But yeah, Jennifer Salke is stepping down.
Yeah, unfortunately, they're bringing what's her name in to run Bond, because that's when we were talking about it for a second.
Well, yeah, but that was Bond. I didn't think she was the head of like Amazon Studios altogether.
I'm glad. I'm glad Salke. Remember, Salke is the one the last time I was on here, I was sharing with you. There's a video of, and that's not a video. It's an interview that was done with her where she was asked about like what impacts her decisions for the scripts that she green lights, and they're saying like her repertoire. What do you base like your movie history? And she basically, I'm paraphrasing, anything that came from before 1984, she doesn't consider. She doesn't care about it. Any film.
Oh yeah, she's a true believer in every sense of the word. She was the one that cancelled Conan because it was too masculine. She set Wheel of Time up because it was pitched as sort of the feminist version of Wheel of Time. That is her entire thing. And there's a Hollywood Reporter article where they were just like, one thing about her, she buys things for too much money because she enjoys giving money to celebrities as it makes her feel important. Yeah. She really likes spending time around there. They called it star fucking was the word that they used.
No, I agree with you, but think about all the movies that she considers have not laid any groundwork for in cinematic history that we should look at to learn. She's like, we don't have anything to learn from it. Godfather, Alien, nothing, Terminator, nothing.
The whole thing about progressivism, if everything is always getting better, it means everything throughout always history got progressively worse. And so you have to have a cutoff date where you just thought, well, this is all evil. Everything before that date is pure evil.
It's like, how did people like this get into such insane positions of power as well? It's just
the funny thing was the THR article had it where, because she was signing contracts, Phoebe Waller-Bridge, $20 million a year, never made anything from it. She was signing all these deals with people. And she kept renewing series that shouldn't have been renewed for hundreds of millions of dollars because she didn't want to lose political capital with them. Then there was a story later where it said the Amazon CEO has turned like the Eye of Sauron to him. And then you found out all these things got cancelled. So the moment she wasn't in charge, someone looked at them and went, bye. Yeah, she was the problem with the studio. So getting rid of her is a definite positive. Just who are you going to replace with?
Yeah. AJM says, not like this. Switch from The Matrix 1999. I don't know what that's actually a reference to. I mean, that was a cool death scene, actually.
She dies. She gets unplugged. She goes, not like this, and then dies.
Well, yeah. I mean, it was actually quite I don't know, how would you even say it? It's quite an impactful death, actually. Not so cinematic, not so dramatic as a lot of people. Just like, I don't want to die like this, and then boom, you're dead anyway. Stephen Keogh says, there is zero build-up. Nobody cares, and they have no stars. This is legit the end. They spent the last few years alienating the fans that actually still cared. Yep. You're 100% right. Jesus Davila gifted 1 critical drinker membership, not 100. That's wildly incorrect. Master of Puppets says, Drinker, since you finished Firefly, what's your favorite episode? Mine's a toss-up between Janestown and Out of Gas. I think mine might actually be The Message, ironically enough, considering how much I talk about it on my channel. But like, that was a nice balance of there's some fun bits in it, like some great moments where a fucking apparent corpse just springs up and starts attacking people, but also like a really nice, poignant ending to it. And from what MauLer told me as well, like they found out that the show had been cancelled while they were shooting that final funeral scene, and it just seemed quite appropriate for how to end it. You know, obviously there was chronologically other episodes after that, but yeah, I don't know. I think that got to me quite a bit in a way I didn't expect.
The composer definitely knew in making the song for it. I don't know if the cast knew at that time, but the for me, like that is a very good choice. But to be honest with you, argument can be made for the vast majority of the episodes being favorites. I think they're all really fucking strong. But I would agree with the super chat. I'd probably go for Out of Gas myself. I think it's just fucking tight as shit, that episode.
Yeah.
Which is the one with Hurley? That was one of my favorites. The Hurley, the bounty hunter who shows up when he's
early. Yeah, that's the final episode. Yeah, it's
when he's like, it kind of like plays with your mind. I'm just here, you know. It's like you wake up.
There's a really quite hard hitting moment in that where he's got what's her name, Kaylee at gunpoint, right? And like he's just kind of like spouting a bunch of like random shit about like what he sees around him, and then he looks at her for a moment and he just asks like, "You ever been raped?"
Right.
And like her reaction is just perfect because like the conversation takes obviously such a dark turn at that moment. And I think a moment like that just depends exactly on how the actress reacts to it. And yeah, it's like she like literally sheds a tear at that moment, like knowing what he's got in mind. And it's like, holy shit, this guy does not mess around. And he's such an interesting contrast of a character.
Brilliant actor.
Wasn't the thing about it as well, he went into sort of detail about what he'd gonna do, but you knew he didn't want to do it. He wasn't going to get his rocks off doing it. It was just, I know you don't like it. I know it'll be effective, so I'll do it. And it was just, whatever the mission required.
Yeah, he practically presented a deal. He's like, just stay still, don't do shit, and nothing will happen to you.
Yeah. And for quite a while, she actually doesn't do anything. She doesn't even try to escape because she's so terrified of him. And yeah, again, that's pretty effective character work right there.
Oh, yeah. Oh, remember when he says, that ain't no shepherd? Yeah.
Yes.
He's like, you knocked out a shepherd? He's like, yeah.
Yeah.
It's great.
Yeah. Ed Song says, panel, has anyone ever watched blindfold fighting MMA? What? That is what I imagine Daredevils fighting each other would be. It's a phase of swinging to find a target and seconds of as many punches you can throw. Is that a real thing? Blindfolded MMA?
That's amazing if that's true.
Sounds good, like.
I mean, some of those hilarious fights I've ever seen are midget wrestling. Just if you Google that, you'll be entertained for hours. It's an amazing rabbit hole when you've got some spare time.
I think they prefer to call it little people wrestling.
No, that's their name. That's what it's called.
Okay.
Disney calls them magical creatures. I guess that's better in their mind. It's like, would you walk up to a dwarf? I can't call you dwarf, but you're a magical creature. Crazy.
Hannibal Grimm says Cavill could have been James Bond Jr. back in the day. I mean, yeah, we talked about that. Grendel Vivat says, I haven't seen a film rip off previous IPs like Die Another Day with Diamonds Are Forever until Force Awakens pitifully tried to do it with A New Hope. Yeah, that was some bad shit right there. Your Barmy says, Chalamet is going to be Bond. Get prepared, boys.
No.
Can you imagine?
He's a toothpick. He's a toothpick. Come on.
Would you take him over Pedro Pascal?
Yes.
Sure, yeah.
I'm sick, guys. Like, I swear in the future there's going to be a sign. You know, it's like Pedro Pascal is in everything.
Yeah. Found Hope says, James Bond through the ages. They call it bondage. Good. War Van Eagle says Brosnan in Mrs. Doubtfire was a better Bond than the last two Daniel Craig Bond flicks. Fair enough. Deval says Brosnan kept the key character traits at least. Films may have been worse, but very fun, but the character was still very consistent. My best Bond by far.
It's just that was where you saw the beginnings of the deconstruction. So one thing Barbara immediately did, she was responsible for the female M. She started with the characters that were spouting back at him a lot more, that were taking more active role, and it seemed that the longer it went on, she got more power and everything kept going. She always said it was her, when she took over, she wanted to expand on the emotional side of Bond, because she thought he was a 2D character, because she can't understand men or masculinity. So for her, the emotional side of him was where the depth was, because that was all she could basically comprehend of him.
She wanted Bond to braid her hair, basically.
Oh, that's what a lot of these problems are. It is people taking over a franchise because they can't understand what it is or why people like it, and they just turn it into versions that they would like. And it's like, well, you're not the target audience, so you shouldn't be anywhere near it.
Yeah.
07 Darty says, "Hail Drinker, congrats on your second most watched video with Snow White just behind Velma." Yeah. That was crazy. Like, it was 4 million views in like a few days.
Misogyny wins. Yes,
that's all it was. Yeah. A small recommendation to fix the sour taste: Slow Horses, espionage TV series with fantastic sleazy and drunk Gary Oldman having fun. Yes, I watched a few episodes of it so far. I liked it. I liked him in it. It's interesting stuff.
It gets better if you've just started it.
Yeah. No, I will definitely watch more. Northern English Bastard says, to Drinker, MauLer, and Panel, the last 2 episodes of Daredevil Reborn, Born Again, if you want to say it, actually shows that Disney Marvel can actually produce and write something credible.
I don't know about 5, yeah.
Press X the doubt there.
I still think 5's better than the previous 4. And I did like the last 15 minutes or so, whenever it is, when it felt like they were getting back to the characters.
You mean in 6?
Sorry, 6. Yeah.
Yeah. I agree with you. Except for the Kamala Khan thing, I enjoyed some of the bank stuff. Except the Kamala Khan, that he went over that. I know.
It could have been a good episode. It's making you, it's probably reminding you all of like episodes in actual good TV shows where they do have good bottle episodes or filler episodes, so to speak. And I don't even mean that derogatorily.
It felt like an episode of television for once.
It could have. I'm saying it was balls. Like their execution of it was balls, but they are evoking something that we're all familiar with in TV shows that are oftentimes good.
Yeah, and it actually had Daredevil doing something, unlike the rest where it's other people doing things. The end of episode 5, or watching episode 5, then going to the start of 6, I was like, oh no, it's like these people are the problem. It is the side characters that are dragging it down. I think if you'd started with the fight in episode 1, gone to episode 5, and then the end of episode 6, and somehow tied them together, I think
cut the others out. Yeah, I get it.
Oh
yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah. Aaron K is asking, what do you guys think of various story structure strategies that some writers use? There's Dan Harmon's story circle, the save the cat method, the scene and sequel method, and the and but therefore method. Thoughts? Too formulaic? So these are all tools that you could use for storytelling. Like, none of them are prescriptive rules that you have to apply, as far as I'm concerned. Like, they are tools to help you understand how to structure a story. But it all comes down to the implementation at the end of the day. So if any of these things are well implemented, or if you just take something completely different and do it with a great deal of thought and care and attention to detail, it can all work.
I think that most stories are about themes, and how you tell the story is probably less impactful than the actual message. For instance, the Daredevil one, where it's the guy about, you're making it really difficult for me by punishing me to leech off the state. If that had ended with Daredevil beating the living crap out of him, that would have been a way better scene. So it's not about, I think it's less about the mechanics of it as the message that you're putting across.
That's what I was saying. Like, you can have a character that stupid as long as the fucking story proves them wrong. You know, but instead this story was like, yeah, he's totally right. You're like,
of course he is. Darty says, also for the entire panel, I recently read Things That I'll Do If I Ever Become an Evil Overlord. If one writes actually competent villains, how could a hero possibly prevail in a believable way without cheap tricks? Well, I mean, I think hypothetically they're going to prevail through like outsmarting the villain, or like turning their strengths against them, or like outfighting them. There's a million different ways they can win.
I think if you look at something like Mistborn, that had a competent villain in it, and the way they overcome it is essentially that this guy is controlling a vast region, an entire city. He's got a lot to worry about, and so you have like guerrilla tactics that they can't fight. If you look at a lot of the Roman fights and stuff, the people that use guerrilla tactics won because you couldn't chase them around. It was only when they started to do a pitch battle that they just get defeated and lose. And so you kind of have one chance to win in that regard, and I think that's what you'd have to do. You'd have to play around anonymity, blending into the crowd, like Vietnam kind of stuff, and then
you can
get to him when he's...
Well, I mean, look at something like look at Star Wars. Like, look when Luke Skywalker gets matched up against the Emperor. The Emperor is a competent villain with a pretty viable strategy of like, I'm going to turn you to my side by forcing you to get angry enough that you embrace the evil dark side, and you'll understand what it is to be like me. Essentially, you will join me. And Luke beats him by stopping fighting. Like entrusting his entire life to his father, like the idea that he won't kill him, and that's it. Like he's completely at the guy's mercy, and it's that moment of restraint that turns the tide for him.
You don't have to make a villain incompetent by having like a fatal flaw, and with the Emperor, it would have been like he never believed that Vader would turn on him.
Yeah.
There's always one villain that I've always loved the most that I thought would be interesting to see how you could beat it was The Usual Suspects. The Kaiser Sose whole thing.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It's just the way how smart he was, the way they wrote him. Just wonder how you would do that.
I mean, he's less of a villain so much as like not a force of nature, but like he is something that's hidden throughout the story, and he's almost talked about in mythological terms, and like he's only revealed in the final moments of the story. And so his actual actions as Kaiser Soze don't even exist. It's just people talking about what he did and what they heard about him, and then finally realizing, oh shit, this guy that we thought was harmless is him the whole time. Like it's an interesting structure that doesn't work in the normal sense of a villain.
Okay.
You can also do like the villain is dead, but that he kind of won in like 7 or to an extent, like Zemo in Civil War, right? He's not dead, but he got what he wanted. He's in jail, but it's like he won for himself, sort of thing. So there's a lot of things you can do with villains that makes them super compelling, and then you could have an outright victory too if you wanted to. Look at I guess.
Well, look at Nightcrawler, where it's like you've got the protagonist is the villain, and like you gradually realize that by the end of the film, and it's like, well, he actually did won. He won, and he achieved everything he wanted. And that's the movie.
Like that's most Disney series where the hero is actually the villain, but they don't know.
Well, yeah, but the difference there is like that movie was smart enough to know he was the villain. Like
the one scene that's missing from Snow White is her like coronation as the kingdom leader, and then she like is alone in a room and she just has an evil laugh to herself while the camera zooms and then it fades.
Publius says, Drinker, if you're at all interested in sports, ESPN is owned by Disney and they are hand in glove ideologically. The editorial decisions for the ESPN homepage would likely be very amusing for you. Well, yeah. If I gave a shit about ESPN, I would be very interested in that.
I care about ESPN 8 The Ocho with dodgeball championships, okay?
Yeah. The Ocho, yeah. It also says, Drinker and MauLer, I recommend Jonathan Pagiao, 260,000 subs, if you would like to hear him describe what Snow White is supposed to be about symbolically and why modern Hollywood is not capable of doing so. Well, there you go. Yeah, Jonathan Pagiao. I don't know if I'm saying his name right, so apologies. Box Office Brawler says, did Dopey's voice reveal bother you? What the fuck was that?
Everything about Dopey bothered me.
Yeah.
Those dwarfs were nightmare fuel. All of it was just no thanks.
His face was like a retarded psychopathic serial killer's idea of what a cute face should look like. And then the fact that he's used so much throughout the story, and then when you get that voice reveal, it's like, oh, you want us to feel something, but I don't feel what you think I'm supposed to feel.
No.
But they even had the line, it was like, well, he's dopey. It's like, well, actually, just because his name's Dopey doesn't mean he's a dope. And they even had to put a lecture in there. It was like, well, you can't actually use that. That's not politically correct, the name.
The parody of that would be so easy. It's like, just because he's retarded doesn't mean you should call him retard. Oh
no. Master Merwin says, have you seen Last Breath? Very simple real-life story of deep-sea diving accident. Had me gripped from beginning to end. Will you and MauLer do a deep dive on the black bag? Get lost on that one. Got lost with that one. So the first question, Last Breath, have you seen it? Do you like it? What do you think?
I don't know what that is.
Not seen it. There's two available.
Isn't that the one with Shang-Chi or whatever his name is?
So there's two. There's a series on the BBC and there's a movie with Woody Harrelson.
Yeah, I think Woody Harrelson is the one they're talking about. In which case,
I've not seen it. Heard they're really good.
Yeah. So don't really know about that one, unfortunately. Daval says, I'd get Matt Reeves to direct and produce the Bond villain spin-off stories and origins if anyone was going to have to do it, and hope for a Penguin quality story. Hope.
Remember, he's not responsible for why Penguin is so good. I forget her name, but didn't she write like every episode and he was a producer? Because, no offense, I don't know if it's a hot take right now, but the Batman is just nowhere near as good as the Penguin for writing.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
So I wouldn't go full on Reeves worship. It's just what I'm saying.
Stop
I think it was the
worshiping.
writers' room that did that great job. Who they picked?
Lauren
Penguin.
LeFranc, yeah, that's her name.
Yeah.
She was the creative lead and she wrote a lot of it. So give her more control over something to do with fucking DC if we get the Penguin.
Yeah. Hello says, instead of making a Bond movie, they should spend that money on the MI6 to protect the UK from actual real foreign threats. Can you imagine that if a movie studio just said, here's like £200 million to like protect our country. Good luck.
That's going to be the future. So you're just slowly going to see things in my room vanish as they get banned by the government because someone's committed a crime with them.
Yeah. Spoons are next. Trust me.
But yeah, someone hit someone with a speaker, they're going to have to go.
When's the
They're going to have to
car?
communicate by Morse code.
Guitars are pretty dangerous.
Oh yeah, when are they going to take cars away?
So a matter of time. We can't be trusted with them. DJ7 says, the Sundance Festival has for Colorado because Utah banned pride flags in schools. I didn't even know they were still going. Our film festival's dead. How do I answer that? There's always going to be film festivals, I guess. How relevant are they going to be? Increasingly less, I suppose, over time.
Yeah, Justine Bateman has one now that she started. Without any type of AI, I think that's her focus, like just filmmaking. No, I think it's no FX or something, no AI.
That's going to be over time. You're going to cut out more and more and more movies with that rule.
Eventually, because she wants to just filmmaking. Her whole thing is about just filmmaking. I think it's this weekend or next weekend. I think.
Joe Coy says they did a James Bond Jr. cartoon in the early 90s that had Bond's nephew at a prep school. Ugh, okay. Albert Nada Retro says, let me make sure I understand. MauLer and the Drinker think they can find serenity in Gary's ass. We can find it there, It's just a question of how you use it, okay?
Challenge accepted.
Yeah. Joshua D says, Babylon 5, when?
That was
Good
really
question.
Good. 5 seasons.
Yeah. Joe Effler
The good
says,
thing about that is they tie together so like you get payoffs for something that happened in season 1 and like season 3 or something. Just so long afterwards, but then it all makes sense.
how much longer can Disney keep this up when between all of their different IPs, only 2 or 3 in 10 make money, and Disney Plus is $11 billion in the hole? Marvel, Star Wars, the animated, and the remakes, do the parks make that much money? I mean, they do make a lot of money, to be fair. Yeah, I guess they see it as a long-term investment, and they were hoping it was going to pay off. Clearly, it hasn't with Star Wars. DSP Historical Society says, we love Disparu. There you go. Bit of love coming your way. You got a fan base there. Famas says, Drinker, dear, do check email and admire my latest brain fart. Lol. Well, now you got me intrigued. I'll go and do that later. Jen Mai Cha says, you're very handsome, Mr. H. There's so much love going around for you guys tonight.
Yeah.
Thanks.
This isn't normal for English people. They don't know how to handle
Yeah.
nice.
David Gannon says, warning, if you watch Stargate SG-1, stop at the end of Season 8. Season 9 and 10 are not worth watching. Atlantis is okay. Universe is pure shite and nonsense. Whoa.
It is at first. Yeah, I do think it improves.
Yeah, Seasons 9 and 10 are pretty shit on SG-1. That's when the Ori came in. Like when they pretty much milked the Goa'uld for all they were worth, so they had to have a new enemy, and it was pretty crap.
But they had Marina Baccarin play them.
They did, but
that was
she's not always a total winner.
No,
getting rid of Colonel O'Neill as well is a big loss.
Bad decision. Yeah, that's.
You could tell that Richard Dean Anderson was just not giving a fuck towards the end.
Oh yeah.
It's
Well,
like-
when he comes back and you're like, oh well, you've inflated. You were having a great time wherever you were.
Have you seen the recent pictures of him?
No.
He's a big chap nowadays.
Yeah, it was like he had to stay in shape for the role, and then he's just like, I'm going to do whatever I want.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm done with this. Ed Song says, Disparu, SG always had problems with the environment, the base, Atlantis, universe. When they had control, Atlantis styles Earth and the universe had control of the ship. The urgency died. Okay.
I'm not sure what you mean about the environment. Do you mean the setting? Is that what it
Well,
means?
I think what they're suggesting here is once the people in these various things, like with Stargate Atlantis, they were stranded in a different place, but once they were able to like reestablish contact with Earth, there was no
it was the initial
urgency anymore. Yeah.
Yeah. They were trying. I think Stargate did it best because it slowly expanded the scales. It's a bit like Person of Interest. Every series you kind of have to make bigger and bigger stakes every time. I do think Stargate did that well, like expanding into the universe. But Atlantis tried to do it by expanding back to the original series with Tunnels Home and things. Yeah.
I like the second season of Stargate Universe.
Yeah, I think it was getting to its best just as it got.
Yeah.
Then
Yeah,
it
I
would have
agree.
continued to improve. And it what didn't get cancelled for low viewers or anything. It was because I think it was a merger or something like that, and it just fell through the cracks. Didn't get renewed because there was no one in place to renew it.
Was it Sci-Fi or something like that?
Hmm.
That bought it? I don't know. Something was crazy.
Yeah. Brock's gifted 20 critical drinker memberships, so thank you very much, man. Jason Hardy's become a new member. Master of Puppet says, Drinker, I must confess, the final 5 minutes of FNT, I didn't hear a word you or the panel said. What happened? I don't know what happened there. If you want to blame anyone, though, I'm going to blame X-Ray Girl. She's the producer, so yeah, it's not my fault. Grendel Vivat gifted 50, so thank you very much, my friend.
Oh no, it wasn't that there was someone with a big chest on the screen from memory. I think that's what it was.
Sydney Sweeney.
Yeah.
Yes,
Yeah.
yeah. It's funny when Gary asked me to like, name things that I had coming up and like. Stuff
You were like,
I was
sorry.
like, it's like what Sydney? I don't know what you want me to say. Grendel Vivat says the best part about the new Snow White are the reviews. The best part of Drinker's review was the recommendation for Black Bag, which was the most unrealistic moment is someone saying apartment instead of flat. That's fair. Next one is I'm just trying to go through the member ones here. Dex has joined as a new member, so thank you and welcome aboard, sir. I just don't want to miss any of these. Where's the next one? Oh, yeah. Jesus Davila gifted a Critical Drinker membership, so thank you very much, my friend. And let's see. Oh, yeah. Box Office Brawler became a new member, so welcome aboard. And what else do we have here? I think that's all of them. Oh, yeah. Paul Stramby says, great to be in the fellowship and hail to the open bar. Thank you, my friend, and welcome aboard. Welcome to the bar. Yeah, this was one here. What's that? Child show. What's that? VMI Child Soldier. For the panel, who are you choosing to direct your biography movie after signing away your rights from a night out drinking with Drinker at Sue Wester in Glasgow? Do you want J.J. Abrams, Ryan Johnson, Paddy Jenkins, or Zack Snyder?
Oh.
It's like having to choose between syphilis and gonorrhea right here.
I'd go with Snyder out of all.
See, biography. Oh, man.
Ryan Johnson, I guess.
This is
Well, it'd be Patty Jenkins if somebody else wrote it.
I think she'd probably take the best shot
this
at
is just
doing a good
directing.
job. She's just a moron. So, yeah, as long as she wasn't writing it, she'd probably be all right to direct it. I would like to see myself in a Zack Snyder movie where I'd be like super buff, but I'd also look like I was dying of AIDS or something.
Working
Like,
the
washed
You don't
out,
wanna-
grey
you don't-
looking.
The slow motion. You don't want to see
Nice.
Drinker slow motion.
Yeah, just like me drinking a bottle of Jack in slow motion, pouring it all over my face.
It's just like harvesting the hops. I'd do Abrams just because my name comes from Alias and he made Alias, so it'd go full circle.
Hopefully someone else is writing, like was said. God, what a horrible selection, though.
Yeah, asking the tough questions. Here's one. Brown Bear says, when I hear Peter Dinklage, I always think of an old movie called Safe Men with Sam Rockwell, Steve Zahn, and Paul Giamatti. Funny movie about the Jewish mafia hiring the wrong two guys to crack a safe. Weird but funny. Nice. All right. Dinklage was in that then, I presume. Let me just check.
Probably stuck in the safe.
He was the safe. Oh, yeah. Stormbringer. What a stellar panel today. Cheers, gentlemen. When will we get to see Lord of the Ring Gollum stream drinker? MauLer can supervise. Should I play it? I've been trying to play goddamn Assassin's Creed Shadows. And the combat in that is the most frustrating thing ever. You stick to every wall. When you're trying to just duck around and dodge during combat, you just start climbing stuff. And then people shoot you. And then you die.
Well, I can reassure you that Lord of the Ring Gollum has excellent mechanics that you'll be taking very much care of in there. Just don't play it sober.
Well, I think you can guarantee that, really. You're fine. If I can get out of the first cave, I've probably done better than Gary managed to do. So,
yeah. If you don't randomly restart a level for no reason whatsoever.
I'm unsatisfied with this level. I'm going to restart. But yes, I'm probably going to finish up there, actually, because I know we've not got through all the super chats because we very rarely do. But MauLer and I will absolutely catch up with them over the weekend. But I want to say thank you to everyone who's joined us for this tonight and sent so many generous super chats to us, and everyone else in chat who's just been along for the ride. We appreciate you guys, and I appreciate my awesome panel that's come on to join us for this evening. So thank you guys, and thank you to my mods as well. Do you guys have anything coming up you want to make the chat and everyone else aware of? Anything you want to do?
I have a Snow White video coming out, and Slayer Nation Live this Sunday. I'm a surprise guest. But yeah.
With me, I've got some stuff like a video about the studio, which is interesting just because it's what Hollywood thinks is wrong with Hollywood. And so it's almost more interesting for what they don't say is the problem than what they think is. But then on the 12th is the Doctor Who Series 2 run. So that's what I'm looking forward to.
Oh, yeah.
That's going to be hard going.
Yeah, I'll be covering the viewing figures of the Doctor Who and sort of comparing it on an analytical perspective with the previous ones and loads of kind of nonsense. So yeah, stay tuned for that.
I think you'll probably be able to count the viewers on your fingers of one hand.
Yeah. Oh, but the writers.
This is the last season
for this
right?
one or another level.
But this is the last season, right? That's what I keep. It's over.
That's the rumor.
Yeah. I mean, Davis has gone to do another series. QT not doing it anymore.
Mm-hmm.
So it's looking unlikely unless they can find somebody else to pay for it or run it.
Yeah. Well, you can catch MauLer and I and Gary and Az and Fringy on Sunday night, where we're going to be live streaming our final watch through of the Firefly universe with Serenity. So you can catch us doing that.
Yay!
And, MauLer and I have also been working on a little something that we're probably going to announce on Monday that we're looking forward to. So we got some fun stuff coming up that I think you guys are going to like. So yeah, we'll say no more for now, but that announcement is coming. So believe that. But that is all we've got for today. So go away now.
Bye bye.
Yeah.